Good evening. Welcome to Thursday Night Gaming. I'm Ralph with GHC Esports. With me tonight is Marcy Alstrom, the person who wrote America's national anthem, a pretty famous song. Marcy, how are you tonight?
I'm doing great, thank you. How are you tonight, Ralph?
Good. I'm so pleased that once again you're joining me for from my raft of BS that I send your direction. I super appreciate it.
I love it. I love it. Thursday nights is my favorite night of the week.
Awesome. So tonight we have League of Legends 3v3 ARAMS. Now we did this like 8 weeks ago. And you know, it was pretty good stuff. Like the thing I like about 3v3 ARAMS is the matches are short, to the point, and there's just lots of conflict, like immediately. There's not all this like, you know, messing about, setting stuff up. They just go straight into it. So I'm pretty excited about tonight's match, but you know, it's not just me and you. We're actually joined by a couple of folks tonight. I cannot wait to introduce. Returning with us is the fantastic Lisa Malhus from Boise State University Esports. Howdy, Lisa.
Oh, hello. Thursday is now my favorite day.
Awesome. And then and we have Kbot is back. Kenneth Crisina from Ohio State University, president of the Buckeye Gaming Collective. How you doing?
Are you used to just being on the West Coast, so it's OSU is Oregon State over there? Is that what that is?
Yes, yes. It just my brain slipped into automatic mode. I couldn't help it.
That's valid. I'm doing well. Excited to be here. This Thursday night is my favorite. I'm not on every week, but this Thursday night will be a good one.
Awesome. It looks like I'm getting called out for my name tag. Yeah, that's right. I'm representing.
Nice.
This is just like, you know, putting my little pieces of infrastructure. At some point, I'll have my act together and I'll be polished and professional. But tonight, I'll take the name tag as my level up for tonight. So thanks, chat, for calling it out. There's some people are saying they cannot hear Lisa.
No.
As in she's too quiet. So let's do a quick. I mean, just can you give me a quick sound check? Tell me, if you were to get a pet pot-bellied pig tomorrow, what would be the name of that pot-bellied pig and why?
Probably Calvin. I just like the name Calvin. You know? Yeah.
That's fair.
I have a dog though, so his name is Marcy.
Chat, I need your opinions both on the pig name and on the volume level for Lisa.
Calvin would be pig.
100%. Okay, we're getting some. I'm guessing that has to do with the pig name, not your volume level.
Right.
Like, they're all about the pig name.
They can hear it though.
Yeah, that's the important part. Cool. Okay. Well, before we get too far into it, I think I'm going to pop over to the group, tell them to start the match. But I want to hand it over to Marcy for a second because I know, oh my God, next week our quarter begins at Grace Harbor College, and I know Marcy has some stuff to share with folks.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Ralph. It's such a pleasure to be here with you guys tonight. Yes, like Ralph said, fall quarter starts on Monday, September 21st. If y'all weren't paying attention, that is in how many days? That is in 4 days. A little more than 4 days. So hopefully those of you that want to be starting in fall quarter are well on your way to getting registered for classes. Tomorrow, Friday, the 18th is the last day that current students can add a class online. So if you haven't yet registered for fall quarter, you must do that online before 5 p.m. on Friday. If you happen to miss that window and are a current student, please contact the Welcome Center or your faculty advisor on Monday. But students should already be registered and ready to start into those classes. We're really excited to have an exciting fall quarter, to see you guys in this virtual environment, and of course to see some of our students on campus as well. We'll be hosting a number of our career and technical programs on campus this fall, as well as some of our labs and medical programs. So hope that you all have a relaxing weekend, get some good sleep before the first day of fall quarter. I know I'm excited.
And it's not just classes and academics that are starting, but our 3 varsity teams in Smash, in Rocket League, and in Valorant start the preseason next week. So our season actually got pushed back a tiny bit, but we do get 2 preseason games on Tuesday and Friday, and I will, Kbot and Jolly, y'all are going to get tired of me bringing it up because I'm so excited for our teams. I do want to talk a little bit about the format, or actually maybe I got to Kbot talk a little bit about ARAMS while I throw up a brief overview of what we've got coming for us. Take it away, Kbot.
Sure. So tonight we're going to be seeing some 3v3 single lane League of Legends. I don't know exactly what the champ selection process is going to be, so it might not actually be random, but there's going to be one lane, one narrow corridor over the bridge of the Howling Abyss, where a couple of champions and weird characters will be duking it out 3 versus 3 style to try to destroy the Nexus on the other side of the bridge. Of course, 5 teams tonight, 3 players apiece, and of course, as mentioned here, team balance and coordination will be critical with your teammates to defeat that crystal on the other side of the map. Of course, best of 1 series. It's a single elimination bracket tonight, and should be a lot of fun to watch.
Definitely. And Jolly, I was wondering if you could tell people a little bit about the teams, the competitors that we have tonight. Take it away.
Oh, yeah. We've got, let's start on the left-hand side, GW and Friends. We've got GHC Students and Drax, one of those players as alumni there. Team Jeremy, all new players. We don't really have much information on these guys. Some new faces, or I guess some new summoner names here. Wonder Chimp is GHC Varsity. So we've Zan in Overwatch. I actually just saw them a couple weeks ago. If you guys tuned in 2 weeks ago, those are some familiar names. Celery Kids. Celery there apparently is captain of this team, previous TNT champ, Marcy, leader for GHC's Varsity. Mega K is current. And then Maverick.
I love that name.
Guys, I know, right? As I'm sure you guys have seen, the Cedro Woolley High School student, again, 2 weeks ago with Overwatch that I participated in. They showed up. I know that these guys have been in everything that GHC is able to throw their way, so it's always exciting. Some high school students who may have some aspirations to join this school thanks to the sports program.
Yeah, totally. And we are just, it looks like 15 seconds away from spectator delay getting kicked over. I do want to pull up the bracket for tonight. It looks like we're going to have Jeremy and Mavericks playing off first, and then we're going to jump down to Celery Kids versus Wonder Chimps. So, I mean, we're all, everything's in the barrel, ready to fire. We're just waiting on this. Looks like it's about to kick over. And then I get to update my screen on my end.
Is it all random, by the way? Or are they selected? Is it just the 3 on Howling Abyss?
So when I set up the rules, it was blind pick.
Okay.
I think, does that answer your question? I'm not a league guy. Okay.
Blind pick.
So what does that mean?
So that means that they are selected. So there's blind pick and draft pick are the main ones. Blind pick means that both teams cannot see what the other team is picking. They don't have any bans or anything like that. You just pick what team you want to run with, and then you go into the game. So both of them going into blind opponents, not really knowing what they're up against until the loading starts.
Okay, that makes sense.
And then draft is the other one, the tournament style that you'll see where both teams have 2 ban so that they can kind of counter picks as opposed to just going into a blind on their opponents.
Okay. Go ahead.
The important thing about building your team compositions is you want to make sure that you're trying to balance things out, right? So you want to make sure that you're having some champions that can put out a lot of damage and also some other champions that can provide utility across the map, whether that be through healing or whether that be through additional crowd control tactics.
Oh no, this isn't Howling Abyss.
No.
Did I choose the wrong one?
This is Summoner's Rift. So this is the standard 5v5 map. Howling Abyss is standard. I mean, it's 5v5 as well, but it's just a single lane as opposed to having all 3 lanes and stuff.
So we should do a restart.
Yeah, we should do a restart.
I think that's probably for the better. And
okay.
While we're doing that restart, Marcy, you had an interesting story that we didn't get to mention a while ago. You want to take that one away?
Yeah, absolutely. So those of you guys that have been tuning in, for the last couple months, I'm very new to esports. At this point, I'd say I've moved from noob to knows a little bit. I don't know what the next level up from noob is, but I would say maybe I've made that step. So anyway, I digress. I went to go pick up some takeout from Buffalo Wild Wings a couple weeks ago. Professional sports have been interrupted in a lot of significant ways recently. Buffalo Wild Wings is pretty much a sports bar. And I walked in to pick up my takeout order, you know what they had playing in the sports bar? They were streaming League of Legends. It was awesome to me. I looked up, I was like, I know what that is. And I looked out and could see a whole restaurant full of people that were really, really engrossed in and engaged in the match that they were watching live. I just thought that was so cool.
I know that was a recent partnership, I believe, between Riot and Buffalo Wild Wings.
Nice.
Yeah, that's also cool to see. Esports is starting to sneak its way a little bit more into the mainstream, which is always fun to see.
And a lot of these places, too, if you guys don't know, a lot of the places you can go in and request to watch sports games or League of Legends games specifically. Buffalo Wild Wings should have it on for the most part to go in, but I know I've gotten like Game Busters like that where you just request, hey, there's this specific game that's going on, you guys throw it up, and they're pretty good about it. So it's already kind of becoming, married with traditional sports, at least in the sports bar aspect of things.
Very cool. Very cool.
I'm excited because the largest League of Legends tournament of the year is about to kick off in about like a week's time. It's World Season, baby, and I am so excited for that one. It's taking place in China with 24 or so of the best teams in the world playing the game.
Wow.
And a world champion will be crowned towards the middle of October. So that's going to be an exciting one to pay attention to and watch.
So if I was someone that wanted to tune into that, how would I find it, and how would I be able to watch the event live?
Easiest place to go would probably be lolesports.com. That has pretty much everything you would want in terms of schedules, in terms of live stream links, and everything else. Oh, you can find more information about some of the best teams in the world, because let me tell you, it is some interesting stuff to watch.
It really is, especially this year. There's a lot of crazy stuff that has been happening across the world, really, particularly in NA. I know we were surprised by a lot of the teams that made it through or didn't make it through, more particularly. But Europe and NA have a pretty good chance this year, and that's what we're always rooting for the Western locations, because we rarely win.
Yeah.
NA has not won.
I've got a question about about NA League teams specifically. So the last time I was watching League, and I'm a casual spectator, Cloud9 had just won an upset, and so this is probably like 2 years ago.
Okay. It's not this year. Sorry.
So wait, no. I thought so. I saw that and I was like, I can get behind Cloud9. Like they seem like a pretty cool team. And so I also was following their Rocket League team. So what's going on with Cloud9? Are they not good anymore?
Cloud9 was the team. They were the team.
Okay.
Internationally, yeah. Okay. NA doesn't really have standing internationally. We can't hold up to Europe, but really any other region. Cloud9 had it this year. They were undefeated through, I think it was like 15, 16 games, through more than half of the split. They were undefeated. They were just raffle stomping everyone. I mean, nobody had a chance. And it wasn't even that the other teams weren't playing well. It was that Cloud9 was playing so darn well and taking advantage of everything that they face rolled. And then something happened. I don't know what it was. I still can't figure it out, but they just kind of fell apart, and so we're not even going to be seeing them in Worlds at all. And they had one of the best stats across the board, like for the entire split. They were amazing. International teams were saying, this is the team NA has been waiting for. This is it. We're going to finally see it. Not even able to go to Worlds. They just fell apart the entire second half of the split.
No.
So I wonder if they're under some kind of a curse, because that sounds similar to what's happened to their Rocket League team over the past year, leading to C9 basically saying, that's it, we're pulling out. And they cut ties with Rocket League, they pulled out their team. So,
wow.
And it was one of those where C9 took down the Europe. So I think with League, it's like Asian countries that tend to dominate, or is it Europe?
It is Asian countries and then G2 from Europe.
Okay, gotcha. So for Rocket League, it tends to be European countries that dominate that sport. And when C9 upset the Dynasty champions in Rocket League and took them down, I mean, that was my second brush with seeing C9 on the world stage taking a championship. And I was like, oh, these guys, I like them. I like their logo. I want to wear their hoodie. Like, let's get it on.
Yeah, cool merch.
So, oh man, this just sounds like a tragedy.
It really is. It is. And nobody knows. I mean, it's not obvious, it's not evident exactly what went wrong, and it's not as though the other teams miraculously found a way to get around or reconcile the amount that they were able to take in the early game. They just kind of fell apart. Like, everything that was working well for this team stopped. And before they were focusing, playing around the jungle, and so there were some adjustments there where, the jungle blabber was being banned out a lot. So that's kind of how they were trying to get a leg up, but just the rest of the team too, unfortunately, couldn't stand it on their own. So instead, we're going to be seeing Team Liquid, FlyQuest, TSM, or Team Liquid TSM, yeah. So some good stuff still coming from NA, just not as promising internationally, to be honest. It's hard to have a hope for international games, because no matter how promising the teams seem for NA, we get to a different region where the meta is completely different, and there's just no way for NA teams to play around it, and so there's a lot of issues there.
For reference, the World Championship is in 3 different stages. There's the play-in stage, the group stage, and then the knockout stage.
Okay.
The group stage
does that take place over like different periods during the year as well? So it leads up to Worlds. It's like an annual event.
Yeah, it's an annual, like about month-long event or so. Where all this is going to happen, and so each stage will happen over the course of a couple of weeks. But we start with the play-in stage, which just gets in the last couple of teams, and then there's a round-robin group stage, and then that's 16 teams. The field goes from 16 to 8 for the knockout stage, and NA's goal is always to get out of groups. It is not,
it's not to
NA
win.
Fans would be so happy if they just made it out of groups, let alone win the whole thing. But enough talking about Professional League of Legends.
Yeah.
It looks like we're about ready to get into the action here.
And it is Howling Abyss.
A lot of fun to see. We're on Howling Abyss this time around, and I can't wait to see exactly what comes of this. I'm also trying to figure out who's on what team. I believe we are...
Yeah, I think we're looking at... Oh my goodness.
So Mavericks on the left.
Jeremy on the right.
And Jeremy on the right.
All right.
Okay.
We got it.
Yeah.
Mavericks then as the blue side, or yes, the blue side, and the red side is going to be Jeremy right there.
So Jolly, when we're looking at some of the champion picks that were brought out, what are you kind of noticing here?
Veigar. I noticed a Veigar. Veigar is a classic, just stompy kind of champion. The cage is his E ability, and it is literally just a circle of crowd control, of a stun. It is a long duration. He has the ability to follow that up with a lot of magic damage as well. And then Malphite is a great engage on that side. And then on the other team, Shen is incredibly powerful right now. That taunt is absolutely crucial for getting some team engages here. And the Teemo, once you hit level 6, you're going to have mushrooms around. So the nice thing about Howling Abyss is they actually have an item you can pick up to show mushrooms, traps, or even enemies in bushes around you. It's called the Oracle's Elixir, but it costs an extra 300 gold. So even if you don't do well on that champion necessarily, ooh, a good stun there from the cage, you still have the opportunity to force the other team to lose a lot of gold by just trying to avoid those.
Nice taunt coming in here as well from Horus on the Shen, but it looks like caught off guard here a little bit is that Teemo is going to just waddle on away. Stun's going to come on through from the cage, but not really going to connect there either. So worth noting here, I believe that's... I'm trying to read the names because it's a little blurry on my screen, so apologies if I get this wrong. But one is Spectre's Cranberry, or there's some berry I think in there or something. Looks like it's an abbreviation, but that's the Veigar player here. And Veigar's one of the main things is putting up that cage that you see happen every once in a while. And if you walk into that cage, you'll get stunned for a brief period of time where you won't be able to do anything. Now Malphite forced to flash away, and that's actually first blood for the Veigar here, back the other direction.
And Minion shot, picking that one up. And actually also, keep in mind too, that Teemo would have gone down had it not been for Kiko Men's heal that occurred earlier, because you've got the Arcane Comet that would have procced the death onto that Teemo originally. So first blood going over, and hey, you know what? They're going to pick up a little extra gold and a little extra pressure here as they get the push on the minions.
Trying to get that push in, but now actually Horus just stepping forward on this Shen, able to find that one onto the primary tank on the other side of the map in the form of Naughty Salt.
Solid flash
so
taunt.
1-for-1 kills here early on.
Yeah, Flash Taunt was used there. We can see Horus, for those of you know that aren't as familiar with League, the summoner spells. They're on the right-hand side if you're looking at the red team of Jeremy, or on the far left if you're looking at the blue side, which is Mavericks. Those are the abilities. They've got really high cooldowns. We can see a few ignites, the little flame in the hand there, so that's going to be a big one to watch for. Ticks of damage towards the end, but the flash-ins followed up by the taunt are going to be very big from the Shen as well, and that taunt is going to force a champion to continue to engage on him for just a second or two. I think it's a little over a second for that proc specifically. But yeah, 1-1 is a good way to start things up, and now we've hit level 6.
Unstoppable Force coming in. Last Breath as well to follow up for a little bit of that damage. A little bit of a nice wombo combo synergy there coming in from the ultimates. That could be Horrors going down here as well. Do that Vigar ultimate. Bullet time used back the other direction. Not going to... Oh, never mind. Actually, the auto attack from Hayden. Able to finish that one out. And so another 1-for-1 trade here with a lot of low health bars. We'll see who decides to step forward first.
A lot of low health bars, and that mushroom was just hit by one of the minions there, so while Epic Gamer didn't take the full brunt of the damage, it was definitely enough to at least push back the remainder of the Mavericks here as they want to heal up a little bit. The gold is relatively even at this point. That's pretty standard for these kinds of things in terms of kills. It's not as much like Summoner's Rift where, kills don't impact the gold as much as things like creep score and objectives, since we really don't have a ton of... We obviously don't have any objectives, and we have minimal creep score advantage here for the teams. It's really focusing on getting those kills and those last hits.
Ooh, Timo now stuck in the cage and is going to get immediately taken down there thanks to the Primordial Burst from the Vigar. That is that little Yordle's ultimate. And so another kill getting on over to the Mavericks here. And so now they have a little bit more of a champion priority on the map that will hopefully be able to take care of a little bit of push and maybe apply a little bit more damage to this first turret.
And a lot of good pressure. Malphite is another, I mentioned at the beginning when you said, point out the champions, things that you notice. Veigar and Malphite is a really rude combination. You have the massive amounts of CC coming from both of them, in particular the ultimate on the Malphite, which has a relatively low cooldown for an ultimate there. And that ultimate being just a dive in and pop up, which allows the rest of the team to throw out the burst damage that is necessary, or he's able to retaliate with an ultimate if his team gets caught out and he needs to stop any abilities, like the bullet time, for instance, from the Misfortune. You can disrupt a lot of abilities that are channeled or that take a while to be completely expended there. So a lot of opportunity both defensively.
Yeah, it looks like we had a...
Oh, hey. All right, cool. Okay. I'm in
Welcome
now.
back.
I'm in now.
Back.
Yeah, so that Shen ulti is great for providing, assistance in team fights, but with squishy champions like Misfortune and Timo, it can be a little bit difficult to be able to get that full channel out before they die.
Definitely, and that's one of the things that perhaps that Shen ultimate is more appropriately used on Summoner's Rift because of that teleporting function, right? It's able to have so much more impact on the map than any other champion, and that's really one of the reasons why Shen shines so much in those normal Summoner's Rift games. But here, not really going to have that, just going to use it as a little bit more of a shielding option. If that's going to have enough time, of course, you mentioned to channel, especially when we're looking at things like a Vigar, things like the Yasuo on the other team that are going to, come right off of the Malphite knockup, most likely. So that'll be something else to watch out for. You also notice that these teams are actually stepping backwards to find these healing pads, which are on the lower right side of the map. Once someone touches one of those, it'll take a little bit of time, and then there'll be a little bit more healing comes in. But actually, the Malphite going to step on forward, bullet time going to come on through as well. The Shen going to taunt to get away. That's going to be keep home in. Getting one. Wannabe Sec 3 is you go ahead and find it the other direction. And now, actually, we're going to see a little bit of chase here. So some of these other two members are super low. I don't know why you're fully stepping forward there, trying to find a little bit more damage, but not going to do just that. The Jeremy actually going to go ahead and pick up eventually the ace here. Malphite stepping forward yet again. You don't want to be doing this when you're up against Timo and a Misfortune, and that is the ace on over to Jeremy. That'll be the first significant amount of damage.
Oh no, that is definitely going to be a kill though. They recently adjust. Oh no, nobody hit. Wow, that was an execution. There was an adjustment on the time for the execute to actually be considered. It used to be, I think, like 15, and it was almost doubled to about 30 seconds. So that we can see that ultimate was used there just as a method for Horus to re-engage on this fight and focus on getting down this tower. And that is going to be first tower going over there to Jeremy, or the Jeremies. I don't know if there's one Jeremy or multiple Jeremies.
Yeah. But well done play there as well. I think the other thing to kind of note is that, that's the one really use where the teleporting part of that Shen ultimate is going to come into play, right? It was able to get Horus there right on to the map and able to defeat that turret, which will be a little bit significant as we start going further and further into this match. Of course, now we expect that Jeremy is going to have the advantage, and so while this fight might go back in the favor of the Mavericks, now that's going to be a shutdown, a couple of shutdown kills going back to this blue side. Or actually, that was a 1-for-1.
Yeah.
As this fight continues here, a tank and a damage dealer up for both sides, but the largest one in that Vigar already down. Taunt coming on through, going on forward, and that's going to be the Make It Rain used to try to get a little bit more damage. Look at how much Double Up did. Sometimes I forget how much damage Misfortune does.
Yeah, and she would have almost taken out the Yasuo, but she had several auto attacks that were wind walled, that wind wall preventing any projectiles from coming through, and that being, you know, an auto attack from the Misfortune as one of those. So, good chunk of damage from the Double Up, yeah, but he also needs to just watch out for those auto attacks because they're going to be hitting pretty hard. Level 13 on that Misfortune, the first one to hit that point in the game, so a little bit of an advantage there. And now it looks like as well, the nice thing here is Mavericks are kind of evening up the gold as it was over 1K in favor of Jeremy there, but that was not going to last long with these three players, and a flash ult in.
Flash ult in, there's the ultimate from the Yasuo as well. Bullet time was interrupted there as well, so the Misfortune not able to put out as much damage as perhaps they would like. Horus going to go ahead and pick up another one onto the Yasuo, and that's just going to be the rest of this team running down the other, going on forward, and that's going to be the triple for Horus here to kick things off and continue this push gone forward for Jeremy.
Triple kill ace. What a fantastic show there of communication coming from Mavericks on the red side here. It was a fantastic job of letting the Misfortune go in, take a little bit of aggression, and then having to disconnect there. Horus jumping in, stealing that aggression away, and allowing Kikoman to stay alive with just a sliver of health, and that would be more than enough for them to get the extra damage needed for that Shen to pick up the triple kill. Now Yasuo is trying to go in here on 3 members. Might not be a great idea, though, with 2.
Vigar cage goes up, flash away, still running on forward is Epic Gamer. Now has to flash away, not Hydrogen Gamer, though, take it down rather low, but it's just going to waddle on away. The Malphite here, stuck in a little bit between a rock and a hard place. Vigar is going to get the stun onto the Shen. That's going to be, no, not falling in that specific instance, and so the members of Team Jeremy are just going to go ahead and walk away from that one. They've got a couple of healing pads too as well here to heal up and try to get a little bit, stay alive here for a little while longer. But it's worth noting here that how little health is left for some of these Mavericks.
Yeah, they're feeling okay, though, as they are able to kind of pick up those health pads. And you do have relatively tanky, or at least a lot more health there available for Horus.
There's the unstoppable force coming in yet again, but Hayden's going to go ahead and get one. The shutdown going on over to the Vigar here, and now Epic Gamer trying to continue stepping forward. The bolt time comes out, but it's too little too late. It is going to be one going down to the turret shot, and it's only going to be the Vigar walking away in that little fight. That's probably about what we expected, given what we probably know about item builds right now so far, Jolly.
Oh yeah, and actually, can we pull that up, the tab, so we can kind of see what people are working on? Would that be a possibility? Yeah, there we go. All right, yeah, pretty standard across the board. We can see that both the Shen and the Malphite have gone for the Sunfire Cape. Not even so much for the armor. It is helpful here as we've got the Yasuo and the Misfortune for that armor, but really for the Bomby Cinder, the AoE damage that it provides when you are near enemies, minions, really any of that stuff. So it just helps keeping pressure, and in particular on Howling Abyss, even if there isn't really much AP on the other side, it's always a really good item to go with if you are planning on being close. It just allows for easier push and pressure on the lane itself, whether you're fighting minions or enemy champions.
It's worth noting, by the way, that when we're talking about those items, those are things that you can build when you go back to the shop, and you can use gold that you've accrued over the course of the game to buy some of those items. And of course, you have to do that over a certain period of time, and now already Unstoppable Force used onto the Misfortune as well as that last breath, but now the damage coming back the other direction. Flash forward here from Horus, and that is going to be a very quick turnaround and a very quick pace on over to Jeremy, who might be able to get a decent part of the way towards the end of the game on this one, if not on this push.
Oh yeah, they've got the 2 towers down here, the inhibitor already down. That does respawn after a couple of minutes. There's a little circle that kind of goes around it, as you can see, so it hasn't got, still got quite a bit more time until it is respawned, but the super minion will help them, and already so much damage coming out. That is another great thing about Misfortune, is she's able to provide a ton of burst onto those auto attacks, and that might be it, unless the Mavericks can stop this.
Bullet times gets out. There's the cage, though, but they just want to try to auto-attack the Nexus, or is trying to be the last defense, but there's going to be the Unstoppable Force onto 2. The Nexus still ticking down rather low, and that is going to be the game. Jeremy is able to seal a deal on that push, just not quite the defensive effort we needed coming out of the Mavericks.
Very well played by both teams there. Always exciting to see tons of fights in the Howling Abyss. I do think that the Vagar and the Malphite made things pretty difficult there, but I mean, a lot of great pressure. Not that I'm surprised, but I'm a little bit surprised with how much they were able to maintain there without having as much engage as the Mavericks had on their composition.
Yeah, completely agree. And so I will say the engagement that they did have on the Shen was certainly well utilized and able to follow up with the damage there as well. All the pieces were there for the side of Team Jared.
And so it looks like Jeremy's going to be moving on in our third match tonight. They're going to face against JBW and Friends. We're going to head on over to round 2, and we're going to see 2 new teams, the Celery Kids and the Wonder Chimps. Now, a little bit of background about the players on both of those teams. The Celery Kids has Sneaky Celery. So he was in a team last time we did the league, ARAMS 3v3s. Kbot, you may remember. Sneaky Celery, I think, went on, his team went on to take it. And then as far as Wonder Chimps, I think it's Benha El Brazil, unless he's changed his name, is a player on that one. And he's actually the very first League of Legends varsity player that GHC signed. I love the way he plays. I love watching him play. He didn't do so well in some of our earlier 1v1s, but it is always a treat to see him play. I love his strategy and his aggression, and I really look forward to seeing these two do get out. I know, Jelly, I got called out for picking favorites 2 weeks ago in Overwatch, and so I'm not going to make that mistake this time. I'm not going to show my hand, but I am looking forward to see which team comes out, and I think actually I'm going to get that lobby set up.
All right. Yeah, that was a really good knockdown, drag him out. Again, the composition kind of surprised me there. It is 3v3, so there's a lot more sway ability. When you have 5 players on each side, you don't expect aces to occur as often. And so the ace being an entire team wiped out. And so when you've only got 3 players, you can recover or you can gain a lot more off of successful pushes by getting those aces in 3v3. So getting a lot of high burst damage, a lot of damage outright away is a really good option. And I think that Misfortune really sealed the deal there for Jeremy.
It really did. Like I said, sometimes it's surprising to remember how much that, an AD carry can actually put out. Because normally you're like, okay, haha, funny, AD carries aren't going to be able to do anything until the late game because they normally just get squished almost immediately. But actually, given a little bit more of a faster pace of a Howling of this game, given the fact that those levels come in, given the fact that you started level 3 already, that Misfortune came online, I think, much faster than any of us were anticipating and was certainly able to put out so much of a threat there. So, well done in that composition building here coming out for Jared.
Yeah, and it's exciting to see what they'll go with next. And I'm actually looking in the chat too. I see he feels bad, didn't know my character, first time playing him. So I'm not sure if it is blind pick or if it is all random. Just because usually if you're going into a tournament, you don't pick somebody you've never played before. Well, and the compositions both seemed like they were selected just because of how well they work together. You mentioned the tank, the damage, and the utility, and each team had all of that. And so it's interesting to see that one. It is okay.
It is blind. So
it was blind. All right, it is good to know. It is blind. Definitely recommend sticking with champions that you know. And if it doesn't, sometimes even if it doesn't fit that meta that you just mentioned with the tank, the damage, and the utility, it doesn't matter, because if you're really well skilled on a champion and you just know how to outplay people and work your positioning and pathing so that you're not getting in the way of enemy champions, then you can definitely do things that would not be expected for a general composition.
100% agree, but that said, sometimes people just want to have fun. It's the 3v3-1. There are some poros involved here. Like, come on, it's fun. It's a party, right? We're all having a good time, and so
absolutely.
Play the game how you want, right? There are so many different ways to play.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. If you want to win, probably play something that you're more used to. Right. But if you're just here to have fun, which is, I mean, great, that's what I'm here for, then, you know, go with whatever you want, what you think would work well. If your team is, like, haggling you to play something and you don't want to play it, don't make them make you play it, you know? Play something that you want to play, you know, you'll do well with. This is definitely for fun, for sure.
So, yes, like, I'm not muted, am I? Oh, thank God.
No, you're good.
I do that about 10 times each broadcast. So, speaking of playing for fun versus playing for competition, that is a really great segue for me to get on my soapbox and talk a little bit about our varsity program here, including talking a little bit about some of the games that are coming up next. So I did talk earlier about our preseason games coming up. We are going to be streaming Rocket League at 3 p.m. on the 22nd of September here from the arena. I am so looking forward. That's a preseason match, but it's going to be our first chance to get an idea for how our team is going up against other colleges in our area. It looks like I just mangled the spelling for Smash Ultimate. I guess we're going to play Ultimate now. That's not going to be streamed. We are going to be recording those, and so we may do replays later on that day. We're still trying to figure out our schedule. That Friday, next Friday, not this upcoming one, but next Friday, we are streaming our Valorant pre-series game, and I am so excited for our Valorant team. We've got 7 players, and they're really coming together in a way that's just great. It looks like I mangled Smash Ultimate again. So, you know, the following week, too, that last week of September going into October, we've got a couple more games. But, you know, we're still doing Thursday night gaming. We're here on that 17th of September doing League of Legends ARAM. Looks like I spelled everything correct here. Next Thursday, we're playing CSGO. There's no bracket. We're just going to come together. It's community gaming night. We're going to play. I've never played CSGO before, so I am looking forward to seeing how that goes. And then we're doing a Rocket League 2's tourney again. And I don't know, folks that have been keeping score at home, you may know that we have an actual leaderboard for our summer games. And this is going to go on our League of Legends leaderboard over there on the right, whatever happens tonight, and that's going to cement this for the rest of the year. We're not going to start this again until next spring, doing these kind of TNG championships. So you're playing for a spot on the board that's going to last for 12 months. Tonight, those teams are. And the same thing with Rocket League coming up in early October. That doubles game is going to put you on the leaderboard, and that's going to stay for the entire 12 months that we maintain this leaderboard until we get to next spring and summer series. So we are at the tail end of those TNG Community Gaming Night leaderboards. Looks like, folks, we got about 2 more minutes until our spectator mode jumps over. So I know I'm always cutting off Marcy's time to talk about stuff at the college, and I want to give you a chance because we do have that minute 45 seconds left. Like, can you share some more stuff that's coming up? Because I know we've got a ton of things in the pipeline. And you are muted, at least in Discord.
Okay. 10 times a night. Thanks so much, Ralph. Yes, so fall quarter starts on Monday, but we have lots of events lined up for the entirety of fall quarter. So let's talk a little bit about financial aid. Financial aid is available not only for this year, but for next year as well. And October 1st is the first day that the 2021-2022 FAFSA becomes available. The FAFSA is the free application for federal student aid. We also have a Washington State application if you're not eligible for federal funding. Some students, depending on your citizenship and also your residency, the Washington State application might be best for you. So anyway, October 1st is a great day to start thinking about your financial aid application for the next year. Go ahead and go onto Grace Harbor College's Facebook page or Instagram page, like and follow us to find out about all kinds of events that we're going to have coming up this fall quarter to help students prepare for completing that financial aid application, as well as thinking about enrolling for winter quarter. So we have events like the steps to enroll, application parties if you need some assistance going through the GHC application online. We'll be doing that step by step, and we'll also have financial aid workshops. So again, liking and following our social media pages is a great way to stay informed, as well as visiting the campus calendar. We're really excited to have you guys fall quarter, and we're already gearing up for winter.
Awesome, thank you. So it looks like we've got about 10 more seconds until we jump in. I think it's probably a really good time for us to show a little bit of what our bracket looks like. We are over on the middle and the lower Celery Kids versus Wonder Chin. Next round will be JVW and Friends versus Jeremy. And then just a reminder for what our competitors look like. And looks like our game is loading in. So I'm going to hand it over to you, Jolly and Kbot. Let's check out the game and take it away.
Yeah, let's hop right on into it. So we noticed that it looks like we have relatively, I'd say, similar compositions coming in with that, like one tank, maybe a utility champion, and then of course a damage dealer here, Jolly.
Yeah, and you know, for ARAMS too, you can kind of mix it up. While that is pretty standard for doing well over time, you are absolutely able. I've seen some just straight up all squishy damage, crowd control, but you know, some burst damage included, and just be able to face roll the early part of the game. Now, the struggle with that is if you don't have a champion that might either scale up or get a little bit of resistance to survive, if the game gets too far in, then you're not going to be able to get enough damage to burn down those tanks quickly enough. So it's a bit of a risk. It is always smart to at least have one semi-tanky champion or more of an engaged champion. So as we can see with the it's going to be the Celery Kids there on the blue side. The Wukong, not necessarily a tank champion, lots of really solid damage, but a lot of great utility and a lot of potential to waste enemy abilities on the clone, for instance, or just the double pop for the utility on his ultimate.
The other thing about the Celery Kids composition here on the blue side is while they might not necessarily have a tank, they have Senna, which can heal ally champions, in addition to a Lux who can temporarily throw out a barrier to a handful of other champions as well. And so that'll be another way that they can soak up just a little bit more damage, and if they use those abilities effectively, they might be able to swing some fights back and forth. But looking at the composition of the Wonder Chimps as well, we do see more of that traditional tank coming on through in the form of that Scion. That Scion will also be one of those champions that's able to swing a massive axe and knock up a couple of champions, and that'll be a good area for the Yasuo, which we see again, to come on in and press the R button and unleash a lot of damage.
Exactly, and we'll have to wait till level 6 to see those crazy plays. And another great one, Lux is known as one. Veigar, Lux, Sivir are some pretty top tiers just in terms of doing well based on the utility they have within their the champions' abilities there. So being able to get down the lock and then the ultimate as well, a good engage there from the Wukong.
Good engage there, and that's going to be a level 3. You'll notice that the Wukong, one of the Wukong's abilities is kind of like a clone ability, but we'll talk more about that in a moment. First blood on over to the Lux here early on, just continue going on forward. It's Faceless Chimpus that's continuing to move on forward, but the double bind comes on through for the Lux the other direction. Some of these members are rather low here for the Wonder Chimps, and that's going to be the Scion's ultimate going on through. So one of the other things here about the Scion is, yes, the Scion is dead, but passive of the Scion actually allows him to stay alive for a little bit more on the map and deal a little bit of extra damage. But now the Ahri taken down rather low, ticking and gone. Card Kid picked up that kill, a flash away, and now Oxybleach stepped a little bit too far forward, perhaps finally going to back on off, and an early 3-kill advantage on over to the Celery.
That's going to give them that little bit of gold. In a regular game, you can recall, spend your gold, heal up. In Howling Abyss, that is not the case. You got to wait until you die. Otherwise, you have to pick up those health packs and just make do with what you've already purchased in the game. So it's definitely one of those choices that becomes difficult depending on who you are playing and what you decide to build in opposition to the composition on the other side here. Card Kid getting some really solid damage on, as we can see, and some of these bindings now already from Mega Gay have been on point and provided that extra double kill there at the end, or the 2 kills at the end there for Celery. And there we go, a great route just to prove that they can continue doing that throughout the game.
Yeah, that'll be something else. And actually, both the Senna by Card Kid and that Lux there have rooting abilities, which will lock enemy champions in place, which means they won't be able to move. And sure, they might be able to attack on a short range, but no matter for now, is actually we see another member taken down rather low. Card Kid on a killing spree already early in this match, 2 minutes in. It's going to be Oxybleach taken down by Sneaky Celery here as well. And now trying to get a little bit more damage onto the Scion, but you notice Scion's being a little bit more of a nuisance to kill given that tanky nature of the champion. 5 kills to 1 here for the Celery Kids.
And while the Scion's ultimate, when it becomes available, as we are at level 6, everyone gets their ultimates at level 5, sorry, for the Celery Kids. Level 6 for what? Oh my gosh, for Wonder Chimps. Or that's backwards. I did it backwards. 6 for Celery Kids, 5 for Wonder Chimps. That ultimate utility for the Scion is a little difficult in an ARAM. It does help a lot. You get an additional pop, you get good CC, and also just the intimidation factor of that ultimate on its way to you. But I'm worried for these guys once Sneaky Celery on the Wukong, once that ultimate comes into play, because that's just going to allow Card Kid and Mega Gay to just deal out so much damage on top of the pop.
That's the other thing I wanted to talk about is the ultimates on the Celery Kids side. You consider that they're landing so many of these crowd control abilities already, given the couple of bondings as well from the champions, and then they have 2 very long-range attacks in the final Spark ultimate coming in from the Lux and the Dawning Shadow coming in from the Senna. Both are going to be able to output so much damage that we get later and later into the game, as those champions are largely going to build damage-based, especially given the fact that they're at a rather large early advantage. Now, Exon City, kind of caught off guard here, is going to have to back underneath the turret just a little bit more. Now has to dodge that binding. Well done there. Moxie Bleach trying to dash on forward here and do a little bit more of wave clearing of these minions. And that's something that we haven't talked about a ton here, is the importance of these minions, Jolly.
Oh yeah, and not only do they provide gold if you get the last hit on them, as you can see that little proc pop up. Ooh, the whirlwind of the ultimate actually coming out from Yasuo.
Well done there, but now actually is going to be able to find 2 there. One is going to go down. Now Faceless Chimp is going to be running away. There's the Cyclone ultimate we were talking about, but the Snowball actually going to come on through onto the Lux. That's a shutdown. Well done there. Some fancy footwork coming on through. Sneaky Celery now kind of caught between a rock and a hard place. Now that's going to be the flash on forward from Moxie Bleach. Can it find this kill? Can it get under turret? Whoa, okay.
Wow, okay, the kill actually went over to the Wukong. I'm not sure what that was. I love the combination of, you know, the shadow and the light with the Card Kid on the Senna with ultimates, and then the Lux for Mega Gay Uwu there. So lots of potential for, the lockdowns, but that was a great response there by Oxy, using the ultimate right at the tail end of that pop-up, and then the immediate ultimate as well to follow from Faceless Chimpus with that Scion, just to provide extra crowd control. And then in the meantime, you had Sneaky Celery on the backside, who thought that he was getting a great engage, not realizing, hey, the rest of my team is actually being engaged upon under tower. So ended up being definitely in favor there of the Wonder Chimps. And we'll see what they can take with that, because that was also first death, I think, for 1 or 2 of these members here on the side of Celery Kids, meaning they're going to come back with a couple of items they did not have before.
Very true here, and so now they're going to be even more powerful than they already were, and so perhaps we expect the next fight and the next engagement to go to the favor of the Celery Kids, of course. Not saying that we can't necessarily see an outplay on the other side, especially coming in from Moxie Beach there, pulling some fancy footwork, using that Snowball to their advantage. That Snowball is another summoner spell that you can tag an enemy champion and dash right onto him. That's going to be the flash away coming in from the last breath. It's going to be 2 rooted, though, for the side of the Wonder Chimps, and now taken down rather low. That's going to be diving right onto the Scion. Sneaky Celery picking up that kill. Now the root comes onto the Scion, trying to charge down some of these champions, trying to get a kill, but just can't find one. That is a 3-4-0 in favor of Celery Kids. That's the ace.
A great exhaust there as well. A 3-for-0 is always the way to go if you can. That's going to get you the most pressure on these towers and also provide you the extra gold that will give you. Plus, you get to steal the enemy's health pad there, as we can see. Mega Gay picking that one up. That's going to prevent the Water Chips from being able to engage on this, but the ult in from Faceless.
In from Faceless. There's the Cyclone to try to dissuade some of this, trying to stall for a little bit more time is Sneaky Celery. There's the axe that doesn't quite land on anyone, but Sneaky Celery, once again, I think going to be the sacrificial lamb here, trying to pull some fancy footwork with that Shadow Clone, but is going to get taken down nonetheless. It's actually going to be some crowd control, landing on a Mega Gay here, trying to run on away, and now is going to get dashed on by this Yasuo. Double kill on over to Oxy Bleach as well. The healing pad comes into play, and now the Wonder Chimps might be able to put a little bit more damage onto this first tower.
Absolutely, especially with getting the shutdowns as well onto those previous champions. Getting that extra gold for the bounties on them certainly helps, as we can see that it's less than a 1k gold disparity, which is a pretty big deal considering it's 10 and 6 for kills in favor of the Celery Kids here. And Card Kid, they're going to take down Sand Cities. No chance, but getting ulted in response by the Yasuo.
flash away as well. That's actually, Oxybly is going to get taken down. This is Dawning Shadow. It's going to be sidestepped by Faceless Chimpus on this Scion. And so making quick work of that and keeping their turrets alive for the time being are the Salary Kids, who are now charging back towards the red Nexus.
And this is the struggle, too, where you try to decide, should we engage on this single champion, or because we're closer to their Nexus and their respawn point, should we hold off and wait for our third member to rejoin? And definitely with having a half-health Senna, the better choice is to hold off and now an engage.
There's the engage, and look at how much damage that final spark did as well, coming in from Omega Uwu. Now these members are going to try to run away here a little bit. There's the knockup that's going to come on through. This little final last breath, I should say. The shutdown comes on through for Oxy Bleach, who's trying to put as much damage as possible out on this side for the Wonder Chips, and is able to pick up a couple of kills. As a matter of fact, I'd like to take a look at the scoreboard if we could hold on to tab for our observer here. So yeah, I mean, definitely putting in a lot of work here. 6 kills on it. That Yasuo is starting to get a little beefy.
Yeah, and the Ari is having a struggle bus right here. 0-6 and 2, so not a ton of damage, not a ton of extra gold from getting any of those shutdowns or being able to purchase items here. And as the main source of AP for the team, that might end up very poorly for Celery Kids. And here they go with another engage.
Another engage. There's a Cyclone coming on through as well. The root is going to land onto that Scion, so now already at half health. That's going to be the Cyclone. The second activation of that, the root and the final sparks come on through. Oxybleach take it down low. That's going to be the final breath and try to dash back the other direction. Now behind enemy lines. The root does not quite connect there and just trying to stall for a little bit more time, trying to get a little bit more damage on some of these members, but I don't think it's going to be enough because that is going to be another ace on over to the Celery Kids.
That was a great job, though, by Oxy Bleach. Very, very low. The Wukong, Sneaky Celery, looking to get the final hit, and then the dash backwards, actually, to stay alive, deal quite a bit more damage, and almost take down Mega Uwu. So still a solid response, the opportunity for these guys to purchase, but that's going to put 16-7 as the kill spread here for these guys and start increasing that the gold differential over 1,000 here, as they are focusing on the second tower now. A good charm there, but it was right onto the ghosty there for the Wukong.
Final spark comes on through as well, and Omega Uwu picking up yet another kill. That's going to be actually a jump onto Oxy Bleach, but able to go back and rotate under safety. Now, here's the problem right now. This crystal is the inhibitor, which means if it's destroyed, it's going to beef up the minions that are spawning from the opponent's side. And so now super minions for the blue team will start spawning and will be waddling back down to march down the bridge here in a moment. But now in the 2v3, we're trying to see Oxy Bleach put in a little bit more work. The Dawning Shadow is going to provide a little bit of extra shielding and damage coming in to this team. And Sneaky Celery is going to try to step forward here, trying to get more done, but probably is going to get taken down soon. Heal, nice heal positioning is going to come in from Card Kid on that Senna, but it's not quite going to be enough. Here comes the Unstoppable Force. Actually, might have been one of the first times to see that ultimate today. Not going to connect in this case, and now the Senna is just trying to continue to run away. I don't think you're going to be able to escape this one, though, Card Kid. Actually, wait a minute. The root coming on through, and now that's going to at least dissuade the Wonder Chips from pursuing for the time being. They're going to pick up the healing pad. They're going to posture just a little bit more, continue pushing forward this minion wave.
I'm a little surprised at the end of the Scion ultimate there. I'm not sure what stopped him or if he stopped himself, because he didn't actually collide with anything, and that usually ends the ultimate there. He was kind of right in the middle of the lane, no towers or anything like that. So potentially losing out on being able to pick up Card Kid, and now Card Kid back at almost full health here.
The final spark lands once again. A shutdown going on over to Mega Uwu, and now it's these members of the Wonder Chimps that are trying to run away, but your tank was further behind you, and that is going to be another kill secured here for the side of Celery Kids, trying to continue running down. They want to get this last kill on the Scion. They want to find the ace. Not able to do it here, but they're also going to let the minions push, because they know that the super minion wave is going to defeat the normal minions coming in from the red team.
And it's also sometimes a good thing to not pick up that ace, especially in something like a 3v3. What you're going to end up doing by killing the Scion later is actually staggering his respawn.
Now we are going to see some of these members that have respawned from the Wonder Chimp. That's actually just going to be Oxy Bleach trying to step forward. But I'm sorry, you just cannot win this 1v3. The Scion's going to try to do as much, but it's not quite going to be enough. Now I'm just going to try to have to back underneath here, but doesn't quite have the fountain to heal up either. It's going to be one Nexus turret falling. There's the Unstoppable Onslaught coming on again. That's going to be the Scion going down once more. The passive is procced here. doesn't look like going to be able to do anything. Just another whack of the staff for the monkey, and that is the ace and the game for Celery Kids.
Absolutely, they're going to be able to pick up the Nexus off of that one. Only 2 members needed, but every member very pivotal in winning this game.
Toxic Leech trying to step forward here. Doesn't look like going to do much because you can't clear away all of the minions and all of the champions. And that's going to be the Celery Kids taking that game and moving on to our final.
The final is a best of 3 as well, so we'll get to see a little bit more from these guys. And I'm more excited to see more Jeremy, being a team that is, you know, we just got a bunch of question marks on those guys. But the 2 teams that we just saw, Celery Kids and Wonder Chimps, that was an aggressive game. That was a lot of ferocity and definitely some really solid picks. I loved the Lux-Senna combination. The amount of not just damage, but crowd control that you're able to provide, plus the shielding from the Lux and the healing from the Senna makes for some pretty fun games as that Wukong. And then the ultimates on top of it, a solid burst of damage and the healing coming from the Senna as well makes it so that Wukong could continue to engage on those fights, and the double Cyclone really helping the rest of the team and the damage to actually provide that damage necessary there, and a really good mix too. That's another thing I kind of want to point out was the mix of AD and AP, and I mentioned it really quickly right before a fight broke out how the Ahri was not doing very well and was the only source of AP damage, really, aside from, you know, some of the other abilities like for the Scion and things like that. Those are providing mostly AD, so to get a solid mix of those damages and have maybe the one person, like that one tank, as the person to go in and be the sacrificial lamb, like you mentioned a few times, whereas the Scion was actually the 3rd one to join the fight and ended up being the last one alive, kind of takes away from getting that damage spread across. So really solid play from both teams, but does look like these Celery Kids are going to be moving on forward, and that is to the finals, to the best of 3. We've got one more team to make it that way, though.
So let's take a quick look at the bracket. Well, I say quick, but then I have to buttons. Take a quick look at the bracket. So I do have to jump in here. Our best of 3 is actually going to get whacked down to a best of 1. Unfortunately, I have to be out of here by 8 because they've got building cleanup, and that means we've got time. I thought I could sneak us by with the best of 3. I really tried, but we have to be out of here for COVID-19. So I wish I could say that we're doing best of 3. Our final is a best of 1. So you've got one chance. You have to not lose if you want to get on that leaderboard for the end of the, you know, our spring, summer, Thursday night gaming series. But that was a great game. I was watching Mega Gay Ulu, and correct me if I'm wrong. I'm not the best at following League, but she seems like a glue player in that, you know, she did get some good kills. I think she took down Zancities, who's another one of my favorite players. I love watching him play in Overwatch. Oh my god! So I saw her take down Zancities, but it seemed like she was there to support other players so they can make the more aggressive plays. Yes? Am I reading that right?
Yeah, generally speaking, and actually Lux is kind of one of those champions you tend to see on a normal 5v5 play more of a supportive role. She's able to do a lot more assisting in terms of locking down opponents, providing that shielding as well, and then sure, you can sometimes abuse some of the extra damage, especially in an ARAM setting. And so, but yeah, I completely agree. That was well played there by Mega Gay Uwu on that Lux for the team, and was certainly a large factor in that team.
Yeah.
Yes, lots of damage. That final spark, as we saw, the nice thing as well about it on ARAM is you've got a limited amount of space. You know, you've got one lane, so that final spark is going to go straight down the lane, and if it doesn't hit somebody, then it'll be back up in 25 seconds. It's got such a low cooldown. Especially if you build some cooldown reduction within the game, which you can absolutely do, and is very much encouraged in ARAMs to focus on that CDR so that you can just get more stun locks and more use of the utility of those abilities as opposed to the pure damage. So it also depends on, you know, how you build them throughout the game. And it did seem like that was kind of the idea behind that Lux, was more of a supportive role as opposed to just burst damage.
So now might be a really good time to throw our teams up on the board again so you can get an idea for who we've got tonight. We already saw the Mavericks. That's that team from Cedro Woolley High School. I'm big fans of the esports program they've got there. We saw them actually get dropped out in that first match against Jeremy. Jeremy moved on, and they're going to be in the match we're coming up against next. We saw Celery Kids go up against Wonder Chimps, and they managed to take down Wonder Chimps, which has a couple of players that I just love to see. I love watching Zan Cities. Oxy Bleach has been another player from Washington high school here in Washington State. I don't remember exactly which high school he's from, but a great player for Overwatch and a few of our other games. A regular here on TNG. And then Faceless Chimpus is that Venha Al Brazil player that is one of the varsity players for GHC's League of Legends team. So bittersweet to see them go, but awesome to see Celery Kids step up into, they're going to our finals bracket, and now we're going to see JBW and Friends, who we have not yet seen. That's got Zodette, Kitten Eater, and Drax Flygon. So Zodette is another player that she's currently on our Valorant team, and she is... I'm going second. There we go. She is, I believe, also on our League of Legends team for that starts this winter quarter with a couple of her friends. And Zodette is one of those people that's just a real positive player to be around in general. I just love all the chances we get to interact with her. But seeing JBW and Friends go against Jeremy, that's going to be a good fight. What are you expecting from Jeremy in this second round this time around?
That's a hard question since, we've just seen them for the first time in that previous one. But considering that we thought they were going into a bit of a losing matchup just based on the compositions, and they really outplayed it and managed to get excessive damage on through the Misfortune and some really good engages onto a really heavily engaging team, I have, it feels good based on what we saw in the past. But, I mean, you never know because we've got a fun bracket going on, and so I want to see something crazy. I think it's just what I want. Once you get to the finals bracket too. I know it's not a best of 3, which is usually when you see crazy stuff in the first game. But it's ARAM, it's Howling Abyss. You got a lot of opportunities to do some crazy stuff with 3 champions.
It's going to be the interesting thing to see exactly if they decide to stick with the same champions that we saw earlier, if they're going to switch it up a little bit here for the side of Jeremy. We complimented their composition earlier. Maybe they're going to come up with 3 new champions. Maybe there'll be some pieces and parts, or maybe it'll be the exact same core. That's the good thing about doing blind picks, is that it is entirely up to them what they choose to bring on out and show us here in this next round.
Yeah, and actually that's one of the things that I really like about these community gaming nights. I bring up that we have a leaderboard and that you're going to be up there for 12 months. But to be honest, this is community gaming. The stakes are super low, and that means if you put together a team and you're playing together for the first time tonight, you can be a little bit more adventurous with those combos, and you can say, well, let's throw this against the wall and see if it sticks. And I think that sense of playfulness matched with the competitive title can make for some really interesting combos and stuff that falls flat, but also some stuff where you're like, I did not see that one coming, and that worked out really well.
Absolutely. That's the best part about being a caster, too, to be like, oh, well, not the best part, but to say, to have kind of an understanding of a certain meta or composition or something like that, and to say, okay, this is what I've seen in the past, and then to have that broken by the players is always really exciting to witness. I'd be like, all right, well, I guess, that's not as heavily ingrained in me on my thoughts in that composition and how it's going to work out. And yeah, absolutely, especially with these kinds of tournaments where you've got slightly lower elo, slightly lower rankings for these teams. Sometimes the craziest things end up working best because players just don't really know how to go up against it because you have the opportunity to pick anything. So it is exciting to do that, and you might actually kind of take over the other team's mental by just doing something insane. Right.
And it is cool. So when you are... So I'm going to throw out a couple of terms here, ELO and meta. So ELO refers in, correct me if I'm, actually, Kbot, can you give me a better definition of ELO, because I'm going to mangle it.
ELO is actually typically a ranking system that's used to establish certain rankings of players. And so, at the end of the day, there are thousands upon thousands of players worldwide that play this game. And even thousands upon thousands that are playing on the North American server for this game. And so when you queue into ranked and you're playing certain games, the game has to have a system in order to rank you compared to other players, even those players that you're not playing against directly. And so that's kind of where ELO is. It's one of those ranking systems. And the League of Legends system goes all the way from Iron on up to Challenger. There are so many ranks in the middle. There are some numbers as well. And so it's really just a showcase of what exactly your skill is.
Yeah. And Jolly, what do you mean when you talk about the meta?
Yeah.
As in the current meta?
Right, so it is an acronym. META stands for Most Effective Tactic Available. So it is essentially going through, and the meta of a game you generally know from watching like professional play or the high elo play, because they tend to play the most and have more of an understanding of the abilities and things like that. But it is essentially just like a min-max in other games where you figure out, okay, this champion is able to do this with the current numbers that are in the game, or this item on this champion is incredibly powerful. And because there are certain parts of that game that are so powerful, like items and champions and abilities and things like that, they tend to go straight up to the top of the meta, which means they're really, really high-picked, high-banned, played a lot. See a lot of either playtime or ban time there. So yeah, it is, a lot of people don't realize that it is the acronym for, most effective tactic available, and it's really just kind of getting the min-max of, over 150 champions and a couple, like 100 items plus.
Yeah. And the thing I like about the meta is that there's a couple of big factors as far as I can tell. One is tweaks to the game. A new patch comes out, the balance shifts a little bit, and now technically, mechanically, you get an advantage for doing a certain combo. But then there's also the culture of the meta, which is the culture of the player base, which is almost like fashion. It shifts. There are seasons in the meta for different ways that people are deciding to play and different things that they go for. And what's in fashion for one season will change to the next, and so you see players doing different things. What is so cool to me is that when Elo, so the meta at very high level Elo is almost fixed. It can become rigid. Like you see what's in Overwatch League with I think it was the GOAT combo, where they made some pretty brutal changes to the gameplay because it just became so lockstep. But when you're dealing with lower Elo, the meta has so much more room for variation, for what people are willing to try. And that's where I think you can get some of those really, really fun upsets.
And even regionally. Too, because you've got, we were kind of, when we were talking about Worlds a little bit earlier there, we mentioned the fact that sometimes North American players don't know how to go into the meta of, Korea or China. And that's because the game is just so different there. Even though they're playing on the same patches, they find different things that work really well. And those individual metas are based on what people are really watching and trying to play, what they can get away with. And speaking of getting away with things, looks like we got 2 Nikos. So we're going to be seeing a lot of random champions floating around this map as Nico is able to disguise herself and take the health and the mana, or at least show the health and the mana of a different champion. So it can be very good for forcing the enemy team to get some engages here.
We also see a Vi, which is a champion we don't see very often. They're already going to get dashed in here, but there's a Haymaker thrown by the set. Going to get chunked down quite a significant amount here. Some of these members of JBW and friends now forced to run away underneath their turret. So an early little bit of damage trading is going to favor Jeremy on the whole, especially given that some of these health pads aren't up. That said, there's a Sona coming out of Zodet here that's going to be able to heal those champions up for JBW and friends.
Yeah, and Vi is definitely an interesting choice. Vi really struggles with the early game. She doesn't have a lot of survivability. She does have really good damage, but if you want to go in with Vi, you're going in 100%. You're going directly onto the enemy team or an enemy champion, and with that, you have the opportunity to take a lot of damage in response if you have any crowd control that's hit on you before you can escape, and, very little escapability as well. She's really mostly focused about going in on fights. She does have the dash away, the Q, that is used either for engage or disengage, so there is the potentiality for some of that, but it's going to be a bit of a rough game to start for these guys, and we're definitely going to see some extra gold and levels going over to the blue side to start things out.
Yeah, definitely, and I will say, since that first little engagement, it's been a little quiet. We see poking is kind of what we'd call it. Now a little bit more of an engage comes in as that Vi steps on board. That's going to be the Haymaker thrown. First blood on over to not hitting Klinger once again on this set. That's going to be the other teams backing on away from that one. And Set's a champion we haven't talked about him much. Has these wide range abilities in addition to having quite a bit of a tank presence as well.
So much damage as well coming out from this champion. He deals quite a bit and was not touched in the recent nerfs or buffs. I would assume he might have been maybe nerfed a tiny bit just because of the immense amount of damage that he deals and his lifesteal and survivability in these fights. But we see him come out here doing a really good job. That Haymaker, as you can see, is kind of that, I guess it's like a big V shape almost, dealing a ton of damage closer to the center. We'll get more there. And the lifesteal, I think, is going to be a huge part of this. I'm assuming we're going to see some buys for that, starting, with things like Death's Dance, which does a lot of damage and also provides a lot of lifesteal for these guys. The Sona is going to come in clutch later on, though. Once these guys hit level 6, What is her ultimate? It's
Crescendo.
Crescendo. Thank you. I was like melody, harmony, crescendo. For her is it's a big AOE blast in front of you basically, and it completely stuns or locks down the enemy champions that are in it. So it's very easy to get all 3 locked down. Now the question is whether these guys are going to be able to follow it up with the damage necessary to actually pick up kills, or potentially put themselves in a more dangerous situation by thinking that they have the ability to get an ace.
Yeah, definitely agree. So realistically, I mean, if we're on the side of JBW and friends right now, we're really trying to play for this late game, right? Their composition isn't going to come online until later. You mentioned Vi is going to struggle here in the early game. The Sona's not going to be able to provide as much healing and not be as much of a threat until we get later and later. And then, of course, the Nico is going to have to build up some ability power as well before starting to output a bunch of damage there. So this is really just going to be a tale of can JBW and friends survive long enough before those champions start to come online, whereas Jeremy probably wants to press as much of an early advantage as they have to be seen set to be such an early game champion. Here comes the pop awesome those couple of ultimates get popped, the haymaker is thrown here, and that's 2 champions there. Showstopper is used there, not hitting Klinger, trying to win this 2v1, going to find Sona there first, and that actually is very likely going to be the quick ace. I was about to say that today's that is going to be
he
the
backed away. I'm pretty sure he would have had that, but he actually walked back for half a second and then decided, I can re-engage on this. 1 auto attack away from death is what Draxfly was sitting at there. But now, 1 surviving member of the JBW and friends, but 3 kills. All the kills currently going over right now to start things out with Celery Kids. It's going to allow, it's not as bad as you might think, because it's going to allow a couple of purchases. And while you don't have a lot of gold at this point in the game to buy things, even 1 or 2 small items or parts of items can be really, really effective in these fights. Now, the worry behind that is that if another team is doing incredibly well, once they die, they're going to be able to go back and get way more than you just based on the kills that they've gotten and that gold lead that they have. As we can see, it's still under 1K, which isn't too surprising, as it takes a while to get a really heavy gold lead in a certain direction on ARAMS. But there's still a lot of opportunity. If they can get to the late game here for JBW and friends, they absolutely can get the crowd control down that is necessary.
Oh, and now we're going to see another engage coming on through. That's actually going to be a couple taunts coming on through. Haymaker used, flash away here from the Vine, flash away from the set. Set as well. It's going to be a little bit of fancy footwork here coming in from the Nico. Lost my eyes as well, utilizing that clone to their advantage. Well done by Kiko Man to go ahead and escape there. And so no one goes down there in that little skirmish. But the other thing, Jolly, you mentioned the fact that it's giving some ability time for those items to come online. The other thing that I think is worth noting is that's a lot of the reason why we see a little bit more of this ping pong and back and forth style of Howling Abyss. And one of the reasons why it's sometimes very difficult to tell exactly who is winning.
Absolutely. And you really can't until you start getting to objectives going down, the towers getting a lot of pressure, and sometimes you'll even be playing an ARAM and you don't realize, oh, we're at their inhibitor and they haven't even touched our first tower. So while it feels like we're not winning all of these fights, the pressure that is the follow-up to that is a big deal. How well you can push the lane, how much damage you can provide for that, and get your team farther ahead via those objectives and with the extra gold that they provide here. We can see the health packs are up, and teams are not surprisingly going to grab them right away, get that cooldown started immediately, and prevent the enemy team from being able to get into that AoE. As the enemy team, unlike a regular redemption, there's the redemption item that drops down very similar to that circle that you saw up here after the health pack is taken. That will actually damage enemy champions. However, with those health packs in ARAM, if you grab one, an enemy champion is able to get into that healing aura and still receive the little bit of buff that comes down after a moment or two. So always smart to grab those guys as early as possible if your team can really make use of it, just to prevent the other team from picking up a little bit of extra health or mana.
And by the way, something that we really saw there for a little bit and didn't comment on, if people are standing in those bushes that you see towards the top left of your screen, they're actually invisible from enemy champions unless the enemy champion also steps in the bush. Hold that thought for a moment as we see both Pop Blossoms used here. That's going to be a lot of champions that are just locked down for a moment while you see a haul. That's going to be a Showstopper and Haymaker thrown here. But the set has stepped too far forward and too far underneath the turret. That's shut down, going on over to Kitten Eater here in that skirmish, and the first kill on the board for JBW and friends.
The shutdown is very nice to go home with. Of course, you have to die to actually be able to spend that money, but it is nice to get that set taken away. The concern here is what he's going to purchase, how much money he had, and how hard he's going to hit coming to this next fight, especially with the members of JBW and friends being as low as they are, sitting around, a third health. They do have a Sona to be able to provide a little bit more health. They should grab that health back. They're going to do their best, and they are going to get it. They are going to get it with the Nico. Always good to try to steal those away from the enemy team if you get the chance.
Definitely here, and now you'll notice that they're about half health. The Sona can continue healing them up even more, and then they can go back to their own health back to try to heal up a little bit more. And so while perhaps it doesn't look like they healed up all that much, it actually does make a little bit of a difference, especially as we get later and later on into this game. Now, talking about the fact that the set was just able to go back and buy, I'd like Ralph to go ahead and pull up the scoreboard again. By pressing tab, just so we can see what we're kind of looking at. The Black Fever
and a
already coming on through.
The Tiamat is nasty on set, especially in ARAMS with the limited range. You get that little bit of burst AoE damage behind your autos, and that will provide quite a bit. Plus, the activatable as well is going to allow him a lot more survivability. And then we can see the Bomby Cinder there is the one I was talking about kind of in the last game that builds into the Sunfire cape. It provides damage around you. You can kind of see the little flames below Shen there, and that is providing damage to anyone that he is within range of within that little circle. So on those full engages, those heavy engages that we've seen come from these guys, it's going to be doing a lot of damage to everyone around, and ensuring, a big part of that is actually ensuring you pick up assists and things for, having a champion of the tanky nature like that, so that the team makes the most out of the gold that is received across the board.
Definitely. And by the way, another thing to notice, you'll notice that it just looked like the Nico just ran into the other three champions. That's actually not the Nico. The Nico has another cloning ability as well, where she can basically just transform into two, and one gets automatically just controlled and sent on out.
Hey, look at that. Thanks.
Look at that. We've got team names now on
Thank
the
you. That makes
broadcast.
things so
JBW
much
and
easier.
friends.
I do what I can.
Appreciate it. And yeah, the gold differential is so minimal considering, 2 kills, I guess, isn't a huge differential, especially at 10 minutes into this game. This is actually not lackluster at all, but just being played safely. And that is exactly what JBW and friends need. You mentioned Kbot earlier on, that they are playing for the late game. That is absolutely the case. As we can see, the later the game goes on, the more adept they are at staying alive in those aggressions from Not Hayden, the set there. So we will see a lot more damage coming from this Vi and a lot more ferocious engages, but I still think it's going to be a little bit before they get the chance to do that.
Never mind, though. Pop Blossom lands onto 3 automatically here. JBW and friends starting to come on through. There's the crescendo that was used, lands onto 2 here, and this fight continues. Showstopper, though, comes on through. Flash away from this Vi to try to get away, and that's going to be at least 1 kill, as Dragonfly is going to go ahead and get one onto Horrors. Hayden Klinger going to pick up one on Kid Eater. It's a double kill, though, for Kiko Man. Here's Flash forward. It's going to be the Sona securing the kill, and that's an ace for JBW and friends. Well played to them as they look towards their win conditions.
Very well played. Main focus on to Kitten Eater to start things out. No surprise, as she is the main aggressor here for the team. Let's see if there is enough time. Yeah, that was going to be an execute there. So people watching the timers, it usually will be a kill going over to a player if they have damaged the enemy within a certain amount of time. So these guys are going to reset themselves, not giving over any bounty gold and not giving away any extra kills to the team by just letting themselves die to the tower there. That's going to allow them to back, re-heal. Yes, they do have the additional death, but it's not going to the enemy team, which is the big important part of that. So when you can get away with executions, it is very good to do on an ARAM. Never do that in a 5s match, though. You will be very sad because you can just recall and heal.
Very true here. And now with that last fight, I'd like to take another look at the scoreboard here, because now actually JBW has the gold advantage. So we're going to start to see a couple of more items come online here. I see the Rabadon's death cap on the Nico here already finished.
Oh yeah, we can see Ludens on the other side, and actually the Hextech as well completely finished there. We can see the Proto Belt being completed. The stopwatch also still available. The ultimate coming out from the Nico, and oh no, that was a mistake because it wasn't used on any member of JBW and friends, and that is, definitely not one of the longest ultimate cooldown timers, but not nice and short like a Lux cooldown, for instance.
That is something where perhaps you go over top of the enemy champion or your teammate and you just give him a nice little question mark, floating on down, but In any event here, I really would have liked to have seen Jeremy push their advantage early because, as we mentioned, they had that early game advantage, and now it just doesn't really seem like they haven't really done much of anything here. It's been a very passive game, and all the meanwhile, it just allowed JBW and friends to continue scaling. As mentioned, they currently have the slight gold advantage, and so as they continue to stall this game out further and further, these champions are just going to become even more powerful.
Oh, yeah, and there is still going to be, we still have power spikes to hit on the other side as well for Celery Kids, but there's a lot more available on these engages from JBW and friends in the later game here, and I think a big part of the reason that they're not able to provide as much pressure as, for instance, they were in the last game, so we saw when they were able to get an ace, they, got a tower, maybe even two, or a tower and an inhibitor, just ridiculous pushes, and a lot of that was thanks to the misfortune and the pressure that she allows in the lane on the creeps. Now, whereas the Set and the Nico are going to struggle a lot more earlier game in getting that pressure and getting the damage necessary to actually get pushes onto these lanes. So that lack of AoE damage on the minions will keep them held back a little bit more, but you're absolutely right. They could have taken advantage earlier on, more so, Kbot, as they were much farther ahead. Still not a huge amount, but definitely having the mental presence of mind as well in the game over JBW.
So here's the other thing, guys, and this is more so directed to players, but we have to end this game at some point. We can't just sit here and continue farming for the entire game, or no one's going to actually win here.
Right.
I want to see some action, actually, with a double root. Are we going to see some? No, not quite going to see anything. Actually, the face break comes on through. Here we go. Off Blossom used, and that's going to be a little bit more damage coming on through. Showstopper going back to try to go in a little bit more. The retreat. The Sona's going to land the crescendo onto a couple. It's going to be Kitten Eater picking up one on a Kiko Man, and now Horus is going to go on down. It's going to be JBW and friends continuing to step forward. Horus rather low here, and that's going to be the last two members of Jeremy able to retreat back to the health pack. It's a 1-for-1 trade. Some of these members taken down rather low and actually now trying to step on board, use the Shen ultimate, try to find an engage there, but not able to do much of anything. And that's going to be the end of that. I want more, guys. More action. Come on.
And that would actually, it was a little disappointing too, because Kitten Eater might have actually been able to get the ace there, but remained under tower for two more shots to be available while returning to engage onto Horus and not Hayden. So just a little bit of mispositioning, just barely within tower range, and that is a lot of damage that you cannot prevent unless you are a Volibear with an ultimate active. So a bit of a struggle there, but hey, that means Kitten Eater's going to be able to go back, buy some more items, and again, it's not always a bad thing to die. They are half a K up in gold, but the kills are tied. We certainly need some more action here, guys. This is one lane. We want to see, these are dive teams. There's at least dive champions in both of these teams heavily.
Very true. Especially given the Set and the Shen once again,
Yeah.
And given the Shen has that a little bit of ability here, but the Facebreaker pullback is going to land on a one. Shut down Nico for Nico here, and the Pop Blossom comes on through. Showstopper now back the other direction. I actually don't really know what that quite was. The buy goes on through to try to get a little bit more, pressure asserted, but is just going to fall as well. And now the Sona, being the last one alive, is going to have a very difficult time defending herself, and Jeremy comes up with a 3-for-0 ace.
That's going to give them at least a bit of pressure here. They should be able to pick up the first tower, as they've got still 15 seconds left before Kitten Eater is the first to respawn on the side of JBW and friends. They're going to pick up that health pack as well, and not even, I'm a little surprised that, take maybe one shot from that or continue on. There we go. They are going to pick up the tower. They will be able to grab this other health pot and probably do a little bit of damage to the second tower, but certainly not take it out. As we can see, the Nico is back up. Kitten Eater is looking to re-engage on this fight, but so much damage just under your own tower onto Draxfly. That has got to hurt.
That really does have to hurt there, unfortunately, for Draxfly in the side of JBW and friends. They were looking at perhaps a little bit more of an even advantage, just could not all stay clustered together in order to make effective use of, I think, that Sona in particular. That Sona is something where she has a rather small range of effect versus other champions, in addition to healing your own champions. And so much more of that utility kind of champion coming in from Zodet. So unfortunately, JBW and friends just weren't quite able to play that fight perhaps how they would have liked. We'll see if they can try to make the adjustments heading into the next one, where they would hypothetically have the advantage as they just went back to their base and bought a couple more items.
And that was also a disadvantaged fight. The engage started by the set. It's going to go again.
Going to go again. The Haymaker comes on through. Pop Blossoms are going to go ahead and come on through as well. The Crescendo, though, is going to be what secures the kill for Zodet here. And now a Flash away coming in from Dragonfly, and that's going to be one onto Horus, and that is going to be the 3 for 0 back the other direction for JBW and friends, evening the score line here, and now perhaps able to get even a little bit more damage than their opponents
much more
on the second
pressure.
tower.
Absolutely. They're going to be able to take out the second tower, if not the inhibitor as well. And a big reason behind that, you were talking about how little Team Jeremy was able to actually pick up from those victorious fights, from those aces. And the pressure from the minions has constantly been on the side of JBW and friends. In fact, they're going to go for a Nexus turret. They're going to be able to take down a second Nexus turret. The rest of Jeremy will respawn. They're going to go for the end here. Can Jeremy prevent this? Or will the rest of JBW and friends just end this game? That's
it. Looks like that's
no way! What a push! 4 towers, an inhibitor, and a Nexus. Or sorry, I think it was 3 towers, because no, 4 towers, an inhibitor, and a Nexus. That was everything on one push, one ace. And I guess that's what happens with ARAMS when you get to past 15 minutes and those respawn, the respawn timers are much higher. So very well played from JBW and friends. I was not expecting that to be the end of the game.
I don't think any of us were, realistic. I don't even know if Jeremy was expecting that to be the end of the game either, right? Because that just happened so fast there at the end. And so, once again, JBW and friends, all it took was one clean fight to secure the deal, and then decisive action to push for the enemy Nexus.
And that's going to put them into the finals. So good to see a new team. And actually, they had kind of gotten the bye in that bracket, if I'm not mistaken, as well. So that was their first game. Sometimes can be a little difficult if it is your first game if you do have the bye, because you don't really get the chance to warm up or practice against those teams. You do have the opportunity to watch the other teams play, which is nice. So you can kind of get a little bit of research done, a little bit of a step ahead in terms of maybe what they play or their style is. But JBW and friends, man, I don't know if we're going to see that again for a while.
Yeah, so do you need time to warm up if you're just going to sit there, bide your time, play it super safe, and then bam, come out of nowhere and plow through the towers?
Apparently not.
Yeah, I think they've got it.
That's a lot of damage, a lot of objective damage, and a big part of that was actually the Vi choice, so it ended up being a great selection.
Yeah, that was good. So I was watching it, I'm watching the screen, my eyebrows go up. They go up more, and I'm like, yeah, I've got a big forehead, but I'm out of room. I cannot believe that they're pulling this off. And then they just swept through, and I was like, whoa, okay. That came out of nowhere.
Yeah, I mean, obviously we weren't expecting it. That was just way more objective damage than I expected to see from those guys at all.
And hey, sometimes that's the Howling Abyss for you. That's just the nature of the mode in a lot of cases that is going to secure those sorts of things as fast as we just saw.
Well, that's what we were talking about, right? Like, you've got this lower elo, you've got the meta, but it's a smaller community event. Let's throw it against the wall and see if it sticks. But I didn't think throwing it against the wall would be so calculated on both teams' parts.
Right.
It was really cautious.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, what we had, by the time it got to 10 minutes, we had maybe 6 to 8 kills total, which is a very, very low number for ARAMS, and in particular when you've got relatively aggressive engagers like the set on one side, the set and the Shen, and then like the Vi on the other side. And I think a big part of it, too, is just the minimal amount, almost nothing is what the Celery Kids were able to make up off of those victorious fights. They didn't have the damage to pressure through the minions and get up to the tower to actually take an objective. And plus JBW and friends actually for the most of time had minion pressure, which a lot of people don't think, oh, it's not as big of a deal in an ARAM, whether or not your minions are towards the middle of that or pressured towards the enemy's tower. But if you have a successful fight, you are going to be able to get a lot more off of having your minions closer to the objective. And if you have an unsuccessful fight, you are at least dealing extra damage because your minions will be fighting those champions that have gone beyond your own as well. So it's always a good choice to try to get at least one champion in there that's going to be able to do a lot of creep clear, a lot of really quick, easy creep clear. We saw that with the Misfortune, or the objective damage, I guess, does it as well with JBW and friends, the composition we just saw them run.
So ARAMS, I mean, we're talking about the difference of minions between standard 5v5, Summoner's Abyss?
Summoner's Rift.
Summoner's Rift.
Summoner's Rift and Howling Abyss.
And Howling Abyss. But so when we're talking about ARAMS, 3v3 specifically, what changes for the role of gold in that kind of a game scenario? I mean, do the players handle it differently?
Yeah, so in a fives, I mean, so gold is handled essentially the same, aside from, different builds, but you're not really focusing, in a fives game, everyone is focusing on last hitting the minions. That's a big part of your gold gain, is just having a very high creep score. In ARAMS, it's not as essential to have high creep scores on the players, it's really just essential to keep pressure and watch where the minions are at and to utilize them to your own advantage, or to ensure that you're not going in too far where the enemy minions might be able to do extra damage to you. We've seen many people go down to just a single shot from a mage creep, but it is the same in that, you're going for gold. Kills are going to get you gold. Objectives are going to get you, better pressure and golden items and things like that. But it's also not as pivotal in terms of some of the fights. A lot of it has to do with what you're deciding to build against the enemy team, what damage you are able to offer if it is a good mix of split damage, things like that.
Right.
So, yeah, it is actually played very differently in the single lane, more just controlling the minions as opposed to using them for your gold advantage. You still want to get last hits, obviously, but you're not going to be fighting people for them at all.
Right. Yeah, the weight in the game seems a little bit different.
Yes.
Okay, well, we've got JBW and Friends versus the Celery Kids. Kbot, what do you think is going to happen? You just saw JBW and Friends. We saw the Celery Kids play before. We've been talking about Sneaky Celery in chat. He didn't even remember that he was the winner of our June or July ARAMS series, along with Nahela and, I can't remember who the other one was that took that one. What do you think we're going to see in this final best of one match?
Best of one. Well, hard to tell exactly what we're going to see. With a lot of players, we talked a little bit about the casual night. Maybe we're going to see something completely different, something we're not quite used to. But what I will say is that if JBW and Friends like their composition, we're going to see very much of them trying to control the pace of the game, trying to control and make sure that things aren't happening very quickly, like we just saw in that last game, because that's really what allowed them to excel as we got later and later into the game. However, on the side of the Celery Kids, we saw a lot of ultimate synergy. It's probably going to be a lot of those pressing R all at the same time to try to lock down one or two members of their opponents to try to secure those kills. So definitely going to be interesting to try to see exactly what comes out. And of course, a large part of that's going to come down to the exact champions that come through after this phase.
Right. Jolly, do you think we're going to have wildly different champion picks, or do you think both teams are going to basically play it how they did last time?
With a lot of these ARAMs, the fact that you have a lot shorter of a game and it is exponentially increased in terms of your gold gain, just how far you get starting out at level 3 alone is a pretty big deal and can help you decide on the champions that you pick. But I wouldn't be surprised if we saw a few of the same returning champions, and I would not be surprised to see mostly new things. That's what I'm going to assume. Mostly new, maybe one or two of the staples, as we've seen Card Kid doing a really good job on getting those aggressive engages for Celery Kids. This is going to mean that we're going to see at least one of those for sure. But just based on the variety of champions we've seen across the board, I wouldn't be surprised if we saw 6 new champions popping out just because people want to try something new, or they know that they have been saving something up for finals. That's also something else to consider. Some people are like, all right, this champion, I don't want them to see how I play it, even though there's no bans or anything like that. Still kind of waiting as your wild card to pick out for the last game for you to perform your best. We might be seeing a little bit of that as well.
I'm kind of hoping that we do. I'm hoping that it gets spicy, that we have just a totally different style of play from both teams, because I personally like to be caught off guard. It looks like we're jumping in. Before we hand it over to you two for our final game of the night, I do want to just brag a little bit. I am here in our esports arena. This is me over here. We've got these machines ready to go. Our preseason starts next week with our Valorant teams, our Smash teams, and our Rocket League teams. If you're interested in participating, if you're interested in being a part of GHC Esports, I want to hear from you. That's not just if you're a player. That's also if you are interested in production or broadcast. If you're interested in doing some casting, we've got some students that are going to be helping me cast next week, and I can't wait to hand it all the way over to the students. If you're interested in graphic design or motion video design, you want to work with sponsors, there's tons of opportunities. reach out to me. I'm at ghc.edu/esports. Drop me a line or send an email to esports@ghc.edu. Find us on Instagram and Twitter at GHC Esports. And of course, big hearts to everybody who does follow here on Twitch, and big hearts to our subscribers. We picked up a couple new subscriptions tonight. That so helps us out and lets us know we're on the right track. So thank you. Keep that coming. With that, I think the cards are up there. I'm going to hand it over to you two. Let's have a game.
All right.
Let's have a game indeed. It's finals time for our last match of the night between these two squads of JBW and Friends on the red side and the Celery Kids on the blue side.
And, I'm loving the Xayah Rakan combo there. It doesn't really help with the recalls, but will certainly help with the shielding that is provided. No big surprise that the Senna, the entire same composition. So we do see the Wukong, Lux, and Senna. And the Lux and Senna, that combination of those two was just so spectacular. Really all aspects of them. Healing, shielding, really high burst damage, the almost global AoE or the global ultimate kind of thing. That is going to provide a lot. And now a lot of burst damage from JBW and Friends, much less survivability, at least in terms of disengaging, but maybe not, because they've got the Rakan, who is going to be massive. Once they hit level 6 and he's able to utilize that charming 3 of the enemy team, there's only 3 of them, they're all going to be in one place around the same time, it's going to be easy.
Another early level 3 here, and that's going to be a jump away from Kitten Eater on early. That was almost scary there towards the beginning of this game. But that's the other thing I want to kind of comment on right now, is especially the composition of JBW and Friends. I mean, we're talking about as much kind of burst damage, or the amount of damage that some of these players on the Celery Kids are able to put out so quickly. Especially when Lux and Senna are able to hop on some of these other champions, they're not going to have nearly as much survivability. We're talking about some of these champions here that aren't very tanky inherently, and so that'll also be something to kind of consider as we move on further into this game.
Oh yeah, and crowd control is a huge aspect of this as well. They do have crowd control. They have the W, the pop-up from the Rakan, and they have the recall for the feathers on Xayah, but that's pretty much it. A great jump away there from Trist.
Great jump away from Kitten Eater there, but now is rather reserved to trying to make sure that they're staying back as far. Once again, other grand entrants that can't quite seem to find the mark, and Kitten Eater still taking down super low, has to be very cautious of where they're stepping and going to be able to retreat back under the tower, and the pursuit of the Celery Kids holds off for the time being. They're going to be looking to bounce this minion wave back under the tower though.
And that's a big part, too, of the lack of crowd control for these teams. And actually, just in ARAMS in general, what you tend to see a lot of the highest picked champions, or I guess, it's kind of tough for picks because it's an ARAM, so you have to kind of re-roll. But the highest winning rate champions are the ones with really heavy CC, like we talked about the Veigar that we saw early on. And getting a lot of long-range damage, and there's certainly not nearly as much from JBW and Friends composition that you've got available from the Celery Kids. There's so much long-range damage from the Lux and the Senna, and so much long-range CC as well that they can follow up with, that Sneaky Celery is able to follow up with. It's going to be a real struggle for JBW and Friends to both engage and disengage. Even just trying to poke out the enemy team is going to be tough.
Very true here. And again, I mean, we'll see the Tristana kind of start to get more range as the game progresses, but in a lot of cases, you're right in saying that a range advantage almost certainly has to be on the side of the Celery Kids, especially once we tick over to level 6, where some of these ultimates will be online. You'll see the final spark from Megdeu. You'll see Card Kid using that Dawning Shadow to come on through across nearly the entire map, and that's going to be another engage coming on through. There's Dawning Shadow as well, and a jump away as Kitten Eater is just barely able to continue surviving.
That was slick. That hop, the jump from the final spark is what it was. And the shadow actually hit, I think, on a kid, but wasn't able to do enough damage. So good, though, because that absolutely would have been a first blood going over to Mega Gay Uwu. Snowball is going to be followed up here, potentially, by the Wukong.
Snowball comes on through, not able to do much of anything though, and actually Dragonfly going to go ahead and step forward, and that's going to be first blood heading on over to the Wukong. The Featherstorm comes on out, but is not going to really find much of anything, and once again, I mean, I say it all the time, this is only a matter of time, but Kitten Eater taken down low, now without any health packs around, now without any healing really here, and it's just going to finally a health pack comes back online, is going to immediately dive back on to that one. But they're going to have to try to be a little bit more aggressive here if they want to make sure they're defending this turret. That's going to be a knock-up onto Sneaky Celery there. Want to try to see that damage focus come on through, but actually no, that was just a clone. Never mind.
Yep. It was a really good clone. That is definitely something to point out to from both Sneaky Celery and Kitten Eater, both of them utilizing either the jump or the clone very, very well to avoid or have abilities taken away from him. Let's see if they might move in on this engage. Not quite. Some good attempted poke, though, from JBW and friends. That's certainly what they need, but their tower's already down to about a third health, and that's going to end up being rough here as Celery Kids are going to be able to keep a lot of pressure on that and likely get that first tower pretty early on.
Double bind. There's a final spark, lands on a 1. That's going to be 1 going ahead to jump on away. The Tristana, once again, taken down rather low, and so able to survive yet another round of heavy damage is this side of JBW and friends, but we're going to see our attention turned once again towards this tower for the Celery Kids. So not able to find it here. Wait a minute, Snowball, hello. That's going to be Sneaky Celery diving right on back. Really wants this kill, is able to find that 1-for-1 trade. That is going to be the shutdown heading on over to Zodet.
Kitten Eater, I do think, could have actually survived that. Turned around at the last second to get some autos off of that tower, and the rest of the team certainly would have been able to pick up the kill. Just a 2-for-1. I'm very surprised at how aggressive both of these teams are being, yet we're sitting only at 3 total kills, and we were at 1 before that engage. So really solid response from JBW and friends getting the kill, picking up the kill, but their first tower is going to go down here shortly. Especially with, that was interesting, a root and a flash in actually from Draxfly there. I think just an attempt to get a W pop-up, but without the rest of your team there as well, it's going to make things tough, even if that did land.
Definitely true here, but looks like Celery Kid's going to take a little bit of a breather now. And I can take a little bit of a breather too, as we mentally reset here a little bit. And tell you a little bit, Zyra Khan is actually technically a couple in the game. They're both of the same species, and they are a lovers duo. So they get some extra special benefits of being around one another as well. Most notably, they're able to recall together, which we don't really get to see in Howling Abyss games, which is a little bit unfortunate. But
they do get the buffs from the shielding as well, though, so that is something to keep in mind.
Tristana jumping on through here. There's the Feather Storm as well, but here comes the final spark back the other direction. Not able to put out as much damage as one might expect. Now, a little bit of a split fight here as Draxfly is going to hop onto 1, trying to find this damage on Card Kid, but the heal's coming on through. Now caught out and is going to go down. Sneaky Celery keeping that one alive, and Card Kid with the heals, with the shield coming in from the Lux, able to stay alive.
There's 2 very low members, though, 2 low ADCs, very squishy champions on the side of JBW and friends. And a bit of a pressure advantage and gold advantage coming from the Celery Kids right now. Just now getting to about 1K, as we can see there, 13.8 to 12.8. And they should be able to pick up this tower, extending that gold differential. And a lot of opportunity here for, there it is, just for diving under tower.
No. The root lands, and here comes another one. That's going to be Mega Gay Uwu picking up that kill onto Kitten Eater. Now dashing forward, Draxfly is going to be able to find the grand entrance here. But the turret is actually going to pick up the kill on a Car Kid, able to hand that one away to the execution, not giving the gold over to JBW and friends.
That was an interesting one. I mean, Card Kid was at least half health, but clearly hadn't died. So the whole idea behind that was, all right, we've got the pressure on them. I can almost, take myself down past half health just so that I can go back and buy and not give over that shutdown. Because at this point, 4-1, even just a few kills and that little bit of extra gold, whether it's, 100, 150, something like that, is a massive difference in Howling Abyss and on this map in ARAMS here. So it's still going to be tough, and that's the problem. Some of these other compositions we've seen, we're like, all right, well, if these guys can survive until the late game, they'll be good. But both of these teams are going to continue to do well for the late game, so JBW and friends is just going to continue to really struggle here on responding to these engages.
Another engage is going to come on through. Here comes the final spark, but it's able to be dodged away from by the rest of the members of JBW and friends. And yeah, I completely agree that, the scaling advantage, as we commented on for JBW and friends last match, is not there in this specific match. As we continue on, I mean, really, the Lux, especially in Howling Abyss, just starts outputting so much damage.
And Senna, yeah.
especially on Howling Abyss as we start to get later and later into this game. And so that's going to be something to look out for. But actually, double knock-up there is going to come on through as that Cyclone comes on as well. Sneaky Cellar is going to pick up one on the Zodet, and actually it's going to be a shutdown heading on over to Kitten Eater, who's going to try to jump on away. That's going to be the Draxfly, also using some of those recon abilities to escape in that case. But the mine comes on through once again. Can't quite find that one, but now Dawning Shadow is going to get knocked up here. Kitten Eater takedown rather low. Is going to have a little bit of a shield here as well, but the Root's going to come on in for the disengage or the side of the Celery Kids for the time being, and a 1-for-1 trade in that last little skirmish. Actually,
yeah, very aggressive. Okay. 1-for-1. Very aggressive engage by Sneaky Celery. We saw it was very low, I think sitting at about a third health, maybe even lower than that on the engage. He did have the Cyclone available, so was able to get in and engage on that, but it wasn't quite enough time for Mega Gay and Card Kid to really retaliate and get some really good damage down. And Kitten Eater is doing a spectacular job of jumping away from the engages and knowing really when to utilize that. It's so easy to want to use it for engages as opposed to disengages, but really on an ARAM, very rarely do you do that unless you're going for the ace. Your team needs to pick up that final kill or somebody is incredibly low, as well as the rest of the team there. So a lot of pressure now from the Celery Kids. They're working on their second tower slowly but surely.
There's actually the engage you were talking about coming in from Kitten Eater there, and now jumping forward once again. The Root's going to come on through. Here comes the Featherstorm as well, but that's going to be a shutdown on over the Card Kid here. 1-for-1 trade once more between these two teams as Kitten Eater was taken down low, entering that fight, was able to get killed off there towards the end. But once again, I mean, we're still looking here at, what, a 1.5k gold differential in favor of the Celery Kids here, and you'll notice that really, I mean, I'm pretty sure the minion wave meeting point has been on the red side of the map for pretty much this entire game, Jolly.
Absolutely. Yeah, even considering you've got two ADCs who are normally able to get a lot of pressure out, it's not necessarily the ones like the Misfortune that we talked about, like maybe even a Caitlyn who is able to reach from far away and get a lot of pressure. A good engage there.
Come through. Yeah, so not really much to do other than that little knockup there in that case. Snowball does not connect. Rather close, but not in that.
A big concern, too, is the cooldown on the Celery Kids ultimates are going to be a lot lower than JBW and Friends, and a lot more effective to utilize as often as they're going to be able to.
Almost jumps right into the final spark, and here comes actually the Wukong trying to step forward here, but is going to get taken on by Kitten Eater on that bomb, and that Tristana is going to continue scaling on forward. Now jump forward, trying to dash forward, getting a little bit more kills here, but the Root's going to come on through. There's the Dawning Shadow, and some of these members take down rather low. Draxfly going to try to do a little bit more fancy footwork with the flash away. It's going to come on through for the Celery Kids. Both of these teams scared of one another is what it looks like here.
Oh, yeah, it is at the point, I think, where the Celery Kids were like, we got this, we got this, we got this. JBW and Friends has been doing, a spectacular job of responding. No way, that's got to be like single-digit health. That is going to do it, though. Mega Gay, yeah, using the final spark to get that kill. And again, a very short cooldown on that ultimate means, I mean, in an ARAM, you're going to be able to use it every, 20 seconds once you get past 10 minutes into the game. So we can see already almost halfway off of cooldown. Just some really good responses from JBW and Friends, to be honest. That's going to hurt, though.
That's the Root. Kitten Eater is going to go ahead and get taken out there, as well as the crowd control tactics come in from the Celery Kids once again. And 8 kills to 4 here in this game. They are slowly increasing. They're about, 1.7k gold lead now or so as we go on forward. Actually, now up to 2k thanks to that minion wave there as well. And they're going to go ahead and march on forward, looking for the second turret. But Xayah is here to try to output a little bit more damage. And here comes actually the Rakan to try to get that knockup coming on through. The Root is not going to land on any of the champions here. And it looks like the Celery Kids are kind of caught off guard here just a little bit, and now are going to be dissuaded by those last two members in the lovers duo of JBW and Friends.
And because we're sitting at 8 and 4 kills as well, keep in mind there's probably a lot of gold stuffed in the pockets of the Celery Kids, so if they do end up going down, they'll be returning with a lot more damage and probably a little bit more survivability there, especially on Sneaky Celery as that Wukong. But I do have to say, Draxfly is doing a great job of getting these engages.
Stepping forward with the Cyclone once again. That's going to be the knock away from Sneaky Celery here, and that is going to be Kitten Eater taking that kill. Now, once again, jumping forward is Kitten Eater here. The knock-up does not quite connect there for Draxfly, and now the Lux trying to get away with the shield. There's a nice disengaged Final Spark. Maybe a little bit of a turnaround here we might see. No, that's not going to be what happens in this specific case. And that is going to be the Celery Kids able to escape with a little bit of disengage. Now, dashing on forward is the Rakan once more, trying to find a little bit more here. The Dying Shadow comes on through the other direction. Kitten Eater continuing to step forward, now forced to jump away. Draxfly taken down super low. Once again.
How many? That's got to be multiple times of single-digit health for sure. And it's a little devastating to see, but it happens pretty often on the Rakan. He hops around a lot. That shield is a double bounce, so he's able to activate it a second time onto a different ally, or the same ally if he would prefer to do that. It gives a lot of mobility to that champion, plus just the movement speed as well, the pop-up for the W and the ultimate, giving that increased movement speed and the ability to really allow your team to engage there. I will say Sneaky Celery has been going a little too hard. And handing over a couple of kills to Kitten Eater, which is going to result in a tough time for the rest of the Celery Kids. He keeps going in with these ultimate engages at a quarter health or less. And yes, he gets good pop-ups, and there's some good damage dealt over to JBW and friends. But there's not enough time for that Wukong to stay alive in the Cyclone or utilize that to allow the rest of the team to come up and deal the damage they need to.
Is going to come under fire here. Draxfly cannot quite find the Grand Entrance. Once again, the jump's going to come on through from Wukong. There's Final Spark. Once again, Kitten Eater is going to be able to pick up one here. Now trying to jump on a Sneaky Celery. Now forcing Flash away. The Wukong dashing around, but it's not going to be enough. That's a shutdown going over to Sneaky Celery here. Popping that Cyclone for the last time. Draxfly taken down rather low and is going to get taken down as well. Zodet, the last one alive for JBW and friends, but it's only a matter of time before Card Kid steps forward, and that's the ace for the Celery Kids. They might be able to end it right here, and indeed, with 18 seconds left before the first member alive, I think they're going to do it.
Oh yeah, the Lux is still down and might be seeing a gray screen. Will likely be respawned by the time that things start back up. But that was what they needed from Sneaky Celery. A solid engage like that, but when he had a bit of health to back it up. That was kind of the problem we were seeing in some of those previous engages, and then Card Kid able to deal an immense amount of damage. That is not going to be the end of the game.
Not quite yet, but that's going to be the shutdown going on over to Kitten Eater. Now one more comes on through. Draxfly is going to be able to knock off at least a clone here on Sneaky Celery, but Kitten Eater has to stay alive. Is taken down rather low. It is going to get taken down as well, but Zodet was able to respawn in time. That's going to be the rest of the damage needed to secure the rest of that. They were able to take care of the minions too, and so the game has not ended here. But I think we need to take a look at the scoreboard because I imagine some items just came off.
Absolutely. Mega Gay being the first one to go down at the start of that fight, which is why it didn't result in an ace because of the respawn before the rest of the team was able to, or before she was able to engage there. And yeah, the Trinity Force, the Death's Dance, the Bramble Vest there coming out of Sneaky Celery. So that is going to be a lot of damage and also some retaliation for Card Kid, for onto Zodetta and onto Kitten Eater, as that will bounce back damage from those ranged auto attacks. And we've got the Zonias completed as well for the Lux there. We can see the Manamune already fully online and followed up. Everybody's got Tabby Boots, which is no big surprise for the auto attacks. And then also the Frozen Mallet there to provide a little bit of slow for the engages here.
It's going to come on through. Kitten Eater's going to be able to jump away. But the other thing I wanted to comment on about those builds is also the kill distribution when we're considering what's going on here. Sneaky Celery is actually the one with 7 kills right now for the side of the Celery Kids. Having as much pressure on the Wukong is sure beneficial for the Wukong, but you're not able to provide as much damage as you might if those kills were on the Lux or the Senna, which is why we're not seeing those two shred through the competition as we did in the previous match for this team. Also worth noting here, Kitten Eater is the one I've got my eyes on for JBW and friends. Currently, I believe, if my memory serves, at 6 kills, but it might not even matter because that's just going to be Zodet going down almost immediately here with the rest of the ultimates coming on through for the Celery Kids. That's going to be the knockup coming in once more for Sneaky Celery with this Cyclone. Kitten Eater goes down. Draxfly, it's only a matter of time. You can't put out as much damage as you would like on this Rakan, and that is going to be the ace. That is going to be the game, and that is going to be the finals one for the Celery Kids once more.
Spectacular job by both teams. JBW and friends just not able to sustain through the amount of crowd control that the Celery Kids provided. Same exact composition. Hey, if it ain't broke, no need to fix it.
No need to fix it, indeed, and congratulations go out to the Celery Kids for winning this edition of the GHC Esports game night here on our Thursdays. Well done to them. Well done to all of our participants tonight. We saw a lot of fantastic games, but at the end of the day, it is going to be the Celery Kids that are going to be our new ARAM League of Legends champions.
And I think having 2 titles there, going to be for the summer lineup, or the I guess you've got the what's it called? I'm not quite sure what I'm going for here. The leaderboard. Thank you. That's what I was looking for. The summer leaderboards. That means Celery Kids are on there twice now, right?
Yep. Well, Sneaky Celery is on there twice.
Ah, okay. Sneaky Celery is on there twice. Now I guess with the team named after Sneaky Celery there, it's gonna feel pretty good
on our
about that
July
one.
16th, he was with Thunder Marble and Nahala, and they took it. Oh no, I guess that was they were the MVPs. Oh my gosh! So this must be their first. Shoot, I'm gonna have to go back and check my records. You know, we have done quite a few of these Thursday night games since spring and summer, and it's been a lot of fun. And honestly, let me time out a second. I want to get MVPs from both you, Jolly, and you, Kbot, for who you think was here tonight. Player that stood out. But we've done quite a few of these Thursday night games, and it's been so awesome to see the community come out. And by community, I also mean the casters. So, Jolly, this is your second time here with GHC Esports, and Kbot, gosh, I think this is your 4th time helping us cast. 3rd? Okay. Yeah, you're both just an amazing talent, and it is so much fun to see the level of professionalism and skill that you bring to this. I mean, esports is still pretty new. Last, 25 years? Maybe 35 if you're counting some of the stuff that was happening, like in, 1975 at Stanford or whatever, where they were doing, I don't know, Pong championships. But
snake tourneys.
Right. So, I consider it the last 5 to 10 years, really seeing the foundation of the scene as we know it today. And it's so cool to have both of you lend your expertise to us tonight and really elevate our players as the champions that they are for playing these games at this competitive level. And I just can't thank you both enough for the recognition that you give to the players and to the, I would say, grace you bring to the game. And yes, we're talking about digital sprites clobbering each other over the head, but it is so cool to watch you two work. So thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you for having us. Absolutely. Like I said, this is my new favorite day, whether or not I'm a part of it.
Sweet.
It is very exciting. Yeah, and you guys have a lot of really good stuff going here, whether it's the players that you have or, even though it seems like a small following, it is actually a really decent one considering you're just a small community college and your level of production is spectacular.
Cool.
And that's a big thing that, people kind of look over and a lot of students look over. There's so much opportunity if you get involved in esports production. There's so much opportunity, not just for esports, but really any kind of production. That's kind of one of those things that carries over into a lot of aspects. So I think that's another big thing that you mentioned earlier on, that the production, people interested in production, it's huge and it's just getting bigger and bigger. So it is very exciting to see you guys starting at such a solid base. You've made a great ground for these students to come in and build off of and learn from.
Absolutely, Ralph. It's always a pleasure to be here and watch this little community grow. I mean, I remember when I was here and we had, 5 or 6 people for League of Legends 1v1s, and now we're growing and growing, continuing to grow. 15 players coming on through today.
We had a couple that couldn't play because we couldn't quite get a full team for them. So, I mean, there's even 2 more that were subs waiting in the wings.
Yeah, but it's absolutely fantastic to see the amount of growth that you guys have come on through, and certainly glad to be a part of it and help you all out. It's been a lot of fun.
Well, awesome. Okay, well, now I got to put you on the spot. Jolly, who's your MVP for tonight?
Okay, that's real rough. I want to say Kitten Eater, but I think I'm going to go with Card Kid, actually. I think went a little bit under the radar, just played really consistently well throughout the entire game, and securing a lot of those aces as well for the team, for Celery Kids.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Kbot.
Man, this is difficult because I've got 2 or 3 that are going around in my head.
Yeah, same thing.
Yep.
So I'll pick one that I don't think, if Ralph and Marcy also have picks, I'll pick one that I don't think you two are going to pick. I'm going to go with Roxy Bleach earlier from the Wonder Chimps, was a Yasuo player. Was absolutely popping off there and having some fancy footwork, able to secure a couple of extra kills for the team. And while they didn't unfortunately end up winning that match, was definitely able to continue propelling that team on forward. So I think that's going to be my MVP for the night.
Yeah, and that's a really excellent choice. Oxybleach has been a player that I've had my eye on for a number of titles. He's already told me he's got four-year university in his future, and that is awesome. But if the four-year colleges close down, I hope Oxybleach comes here, because he's amazing at whatever title he picks up. And you asked if Marcy got a choice. Unfortunately, I only have 3 slots in the title that I built, and I didn't have enough time to add a 4th. So, Marcy, I'm sorry.
It's all good. I think you had stay out of this. It's a family matter tonight, anyway.
I was about to say.
Right. So, well, my choice is Mega Gay Uwu, and it was for exactly those reasons. Like, she stands out as somebody who's there as a consistent support. Also getting those kills when that opportunity shows up, she goes for it. She takes him down. But I just really like watching her play earlier today. And she's a new player to me. She's just appeared today. She just registered earlier today. And so I'm really looking forward to seeing more. But I do want to throw that up there. We've got our player of the week for all 3 of us. Thank you so much. I'm going to click this and hope to be sharing that out on Facebook, Twitter, and Twitch. If you haven't already, please do follow us, GHC Esports on Twitter, on Facebook, and also on Twitch, of course. Hit that follow button if you haven't. We'd love to see you next week, which is, of course, CSGO, our community night. So if you haven't already, mark that down on your calendar. Want to see you here next week for CSGO. And I think that's going to do it for us tonight. Thanks again so much, everybody. And, of course, Marcy, who's here every week, no matter what, rain or shine. My faithful co-host, co-owner of this whole shindig. So much to have you all again. That's going to do it. Thank you all for joining us for Thursday Night Gaming. We'll see you next week. Have a good night.